Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you today that you will be with our armed services and with the men and women who protect us here in this country. We ask also this day you'll be with the racing teams as they continue to bring about the time of racing for us and our time of entertainment. Let this all be upon you and your thanksgiving in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Now, race fans, here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Nashville recording artist Amanda Joe.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Brave.
20 drivers getting ready to take on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Brickyard, for the first heat in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. by Dillon. And Kyle Busch is going to win at Indianapolis. A dominant performance today and a dominant career in the Xfinity Series. And once again, Kyle Busch has been the fastest at Indianapolis, and it doesn't matter if he's in the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series. Who can beat Kyle Busch at this historic racetrack? Let's go down to Kelly.
You ask who can beat Kyle Busch? Well, all these guys today, Rick, are going to have to beat the heat. I checked the weather app on my Microsoft Surface, which shows the real field temperature at over 100 degrees. Joey Logano made no bones about it. He said, this stinks. This car is hot, much hotter even than the Cup car. The one thing they have going for them, this is the perfect time for a Dash for Cash race. They've got 20-lap heat races, which give them a chance to get out, get cooled back off before the 60-lap main event. Dave Burns.
Kelly, Daniel Suarez is a native of Monterrey, Mexico, and I asked him if Indy was as hot as his hometown. He said close, but he was smart enough to do one thing when he walked up here and found his helmet sitting on the dash, baking in the sun. He quickly moved it into the shade before he put it on himself in preparations for today. It's a very hot race, Marty.
They think there's pressure on Ryan Reed today, a sponsor, Lilly Diabetes, because he is a diabetic. And the race today, the Lilly Diabetes 250. In fact, Lilly and Ryan threw a party in downtown Indianapolis, a block party on Thursday night. But when it comes to racing, Ryan says this is the type of racetrack where we need to get a little bit better. But our cars have made improvements. I'm pretty confident that today we can walk away with the top 10. Mike?
Marty, there are 10 drivers in today's field who have never turned a competitive lap here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Among them, 19-year-old Brandon Jones. However, he says he has had some success in this particular state. Of his 3 ARCA wins, 2 of them have come in Indiana, Winchester and IRP. He's looking for a little more Hoosier magic here this afternoon, Rick.
We'll see if he's able to find it. Once again, this first heat will set half of the field for today's main race. Let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, now time for the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome Lilly Diabetes guest Nicole Spears.
Drivers, start your engines.
Crank it up. We're not to run a lot right now. It's just heat, you know. Fuel is not going to be a problem because we'll get to put fuel in it after this.
That's right. Fuel won't be a problem, but the heat maybe, as we see the temperatures rising over 120 degrees already inside these cars. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a beautiful speedway, Indiana, the pagoda there from the infield as we see cars rolling now around the 2.5 mile speedway. I want to take a look at the Lilly Diabetes starting grid in heat number 1. Row 1 made up of Kyle Busch, who swept both poles this week at Indy, and Kyle Larson, who actually won at Eldora on Wednesday in a dirt truck race.
In row 2, we have Daniel Suarez, who finished 3rd here a year ago, and Joey Logano, who in 3 races in Indy has never run outside the top 7.
Yeah, in row 3, we have 2 Dash for Cash eligible drivers, Ryan Reed and Brandon Jones.
Back in row 4, it's Blake Cook and Jeb Burton. Jeb making his first Indy start.
Row 5, we have Jeremy Clement starting next to one of the most experienced Indianapolis competitors in the field, Elliott Sadler, making his 17th Indianapolis start.
In row 6, we have Matt DiBenedetto starting next to Ryan Priest, making his first Indy start.
Back in row 7, it's J.J. Yaley. He has 3 Xfinity starts, 6 Cup starts, and 1 Indy 500 start. He'll start next to Jeff Green.
Garrett Smithley making his first Indy start, and Timmy Hill coming off his best finish of the season last week in New Hampshire make up row 8.
Row 9, we have longtime racer Morgan Shepherd starting next to Harrison Rhodes.
And back in the final row, row 10, it is Mike Harmon and Stanton Barrett. Stanton Barrett's side job is a Hollywood stuntman. Let's welcome Brandon Jones into the broadcast. Jeff?
Hey, Brandon, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, bud. This is your first start at the Brickyard. Tell us what that's like.
Unbelievable, man. First time I came here and walked underneath everything. Awesome feeling for sure. It's been a great experience so far. A little tough to practice yesterday, but I think we got it figured out pretty well and ready to go out of here.
Tell us what your strategy is in this heat race. I know there's a lot of money on the line. How do you weigh that versus a starting spot and trying to get that $100,000?
It's tough. You know, you want to have a car that'll go out of here in the main event, but you're also got that on the back of your mind. So, you know, hopefully we can get ahead of some people right here on the start and maybe in a couple laps settle in and get us a spot and lock us into that $100,000 at the end of this.
Well, thank you for letting us ride along with you, and good luck.
Thank you, guys.
And the cars working their way down the front stretch. We'll have some incredible views we can bring to you today, including aerial coverage that's provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Gives you a perspective of just how massive this facility is. We'll ride along with a few different cars, 2 in this first heat, including the 16 of Ryan Reed. He has the Lilly Diabetes in-car camera. He'll start 5th today, and you see temperature just over 113 degrees now, and that's just cruising around this racetrack. We'll also ride along with Joey Logano in the number 22. He has the Ford onboard camera. He'll start 4th today. Let's go back to pit road and Dave Burns.
Also cruising along at well over 100 degrees will be Kyle Busch. Ever since they have run both races here, Xfinity and Cup, Kyle Busch has done the double duty. He's got 2 wins to show for it, and with today's 2 pole positions in the Sprint Cup Series and in the Xfinity Series, what could be far behind except another possible victory for Kyle? Kelly?
The other Kyle Larson polling triple duty, and he already has a win this week in the truck race at Eldora. He said given that win gives him momentum and confidence, both very important for a driver. His crew chief Mike Shiplett also has confidence. He says when Kyle's behind the wheel of the 42 and given the right equipment, we should be contending for wins. Well, he qualified 3rd and will start this heat race on the front row. Mike?
There's no organization, I should say, in the field today with more pride on the line than Penske. They've got 16 Indianapolis 500 victories. And with that, crew chief for Joey Logano, Brian Wilson, says he definitely feels pressure today. He knows there's a lot to live up to when it comes to this racetrack. His boss, Roger Penske, expects a victory. They're looking for their first one of 2016. Marty?
Mike Elliott Sadler always seems to be successful here at the Brickyard. In fact, last year he finished 5th in this race with no air conditioner going to his helmet. But today, he has his work cut out for him. He starts 10th in this heat race after nearly wrecking and qualifying this morning. Elliott told me I have to balance the patience of trying to work my way through the field, but needing to be aggressive to get up there too. Rick?
Thanks, Marty. And the anticipation definitely high as some drivers are out there for the first time racing at the Brickyard, the historic racetrack. The pace car is going to make the hard left turn onto pit road, leaving the field in the hands of Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. Busch has chose the inside line. Larson will be on the outside for this first start 2 by 2, the field working their way closer to the flag stand. Green flag in the air. We're racing at Indy. Daniel Suarez giving a shove to the 18 on the inside line, and that will give him the advantage going into turn 1. Suarez now fighting for that 3rd spot. Xfinity Series regulars, the only ones eligible for the possibility of Dash for Cash money. That excludes Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Matt DiBenedetto. Busch, Larson, Suarez, Logano, and Reed, the top 5.
33 car, way wide entry, allowed Jeff Burton to get underneath him. He was not able to get on the bottom because he took such a wide entry, and Jeb underneath him pushed that wind beside him and did not let him get on the get underneath the bottom.
They spread out as they came out of turn number 4, but now too wide. Jeff Burton works to the inside of Brandon Jones to take that spot away.
And what that spot means, Rick, is that puts Jeff Burton eligible. We're going to talk about this entire heat race as the 16 of Ryan Reed goes by Brandon Jones in the 33. Those top 2 Xfinity regulars right now are Daniel Suarez and Jeb Burton. Those are the positions they're trying to race for.
And the 1 car, we heard about the 1 car having trouble. Elliott Sadler had trouble in qualifying, had a fast car in practice. Feels like he has a good car. He did a good job of having a good restart, and now he is in position. Jeb Burton is just a couple car lengths ahead of him. He can run him down and take that spot for that chase eligible spot.
And again, these drivers working to get the inside line for the start of the main feature. It'll be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 will be the positions they'll get out of this heat.
And this, you're going to see this a lot. You see right here the one of Elliott Sadler get inside Ryan Reed. Ryan Reed concedes the spot. If he chooses to drive into turn 1 on the outside of Elliott Sadler, it's very possible to lose 2 or 3 more spots. This track, we've talked about it all weekend, Rick. Very, very difficult. We've been talking about running by yourself in practice. We've already seen issues trying to run too wide on this very hard track to manage, and Ryan Reed had to concede the spot.
Kyle Busch is out in front. Kyle Larson running 2nd. Joey Logano is 3rd. Daniel Suarez and Jeff Burton are the 2 drivers that are in position for the Dash for Cash opportunity. Again, they're running 4th and 5th, and it's Elliott Sadler, Ryan Reed, Brandon Jones, Blake Cook, and J.J. Yaley, the top 10.
And Rick Allen, it is beating up for Jeff Burton. He has a mirror full of Elliott Sadler.
Elliott Sadler with a good run coming off of turn 4 as they go into turn 1. Jeff Burton has to see that 1 getting so much bigger in his mirror.
And what Jeff's goal right now is to try to enter the corners so he hits his mark. Do not overdrive and leave on the bottom. Do not give the 1 car a shot. Give him an opening on the bottom. He's not going to pass you in the middle of the corner. If you leave on the bottom, it'll be very difficult. In these cars, though, you can draft up as we're seeing right here.
Big run by Elliott Sadler as they go into the turn. Sadler's going to take the spot away from Burton. So now it's Suarez and Sadler that are in the cash or Dash for Cash positions from this first heat. The highest scored Xfinity Series regulars in this heat, highest 2 scored, will be the 2 that will advance and have a run at $100,000 later this afternoon.
And what a good job by Elliott Sadler. Remember, he started 10th, had trouble qualifying, almost wrecked his car. As we heard in the countdown to green, he almost lost it, but he did not, was able to keep going. Disappointing qualifying effort, but still, the start of this race has got him in position for this $100,000 bonus.
Steve, you mentioned one of the most experienced on the racetrack, the 41-year-old out of Emporia, Virginia, has done so many things in his racing career and now trying to win another $100,000.
And Rick, his experience paid off. You talk about how difficult it is at exiting the bottom, Jeff, but look at the 98 of Jeff Burton. He turns it, kind of gets the white line, but look how much lower the 1 is. The 98 is barely to the white line. Elliott Sadler all the way down to the concrete. That 20, 25 inches difference in their line is the whole run that Elliott Sadler gets down the backstretch.
Yeah, that just multiplies down the backstretch because Elliott was able to get to the bottom, and that allows you to accelerate sooner. That lets you get back in the throttle. So on these long straights, if you're 2 car lengths later, a car length later getting onto the throttle, that multiplies down the straightaway in speed. So we saw the benefit of the draft down the straight, but also the faster corner speed enable Elliott to make up so much ground.
Rick, you've heard it in every sport, whether it's football, golf, tennis, sports are a game of inches. Even in NASCAR, in this Xfinity Series, it's a game of inches. These drivers that hit their mark, specifically in all 4 very difficult 90-degree corners, pays major dividends at the end of these straightaways.
And remember, this is Jeb's first race with this race team. He started the year, thought he had a deal, was going to run the full year. That fell apart. So this is his first race with this race team, and so far it's gone really well. Running in 6th spot in this race.
Jeb was in the 43 car earlier in the year. You had mentioned lost that ride, and now his first run with the 98 team.
And ran well. You know, when you look back at it, that's the disappointing side of racing at times, is the business side. Jeb Burton, I thought, was doing a nice job in that equipment, building some consistency, building better runs. And from what I understand, it was more of a financial issue with some sponsorship, and that's why the whole situation fell apart.
Yeah, and what's interesting about Jeb, you think about Jeb running Cup, you think about him running trucks, he'd never raced here before. And, you know, I don't know why, but I didn't think about that. But yesterday, Jeb and I went around the racetrack and kind of talked about the racetrack in the pace car. And you know, one thing about Jeb, he is a sponge. He wants to know everything. He wants to learn everything. We went around the pace car, talked about the line. He watched a lot of video before coming to this racetrack. He knew coming here would be very difficult. New team, new situation. But so far, I think we can call this a success. It's early in this race, I understand. But a good start, a good qualifying effort. So far, this has been a good program.
And Jeff, it's funny, he and I were talking about that earlier today. He said, you know, this place is really intimidating. He mentioned the ride around the track with you. He said, but being here just feels so different than seeing it on TV. He told me that there's one more race scheduled with Estes in this 98 car. And he said, if I do my job today and I finish well, who knows, we might be able to get more. That adds pressure to a young driver, doesn't it, when he knows he's sort of auditioning on the job.
There are so many young drivers that want this job, that want this car, that want an opportunity to show what they can do. So when you have that opportunity, the pressure does ramp up, Marty. It without a doubt does. But it is your chance to execute and show people what you can do.
12 laps to go in the first heat for the NASCAR Xfinity Series from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Out front, Kyle Busch has led every lap. And welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Xfinity Series Lilly Diabetes 250. The first heat of 2. NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver as if you're at the racetrack. Get live stats, leaderboards, driver and team communications, and more, all on your devices. It's available now for an all-new low price when you visit NASCAR.com/raceview. Kyle Busch still holds on to the lead. He's got a 1.7 second lead over Kyle Larson. Joey Logano running in the 3rd position, and there you see the gap between 3rd and 4th. Logano in the 22, Daniel Suarez in the 19. Suarez, the 24-year-old out of Monterrey, Mexico, is the highest scored Xfinity Series driver. So Suarez and right now Elliott Sadler are the top 2. 2 will advance to have an opportunity for the Dash for Cash $100,000. Marty.
You know, Rick, there are weekends where some drivers agree to double duty and then they wonder, why did I agree to double duty on that weekend? That's the case for Joey Logano this weekend. 1, because of the heat, but 2, because there was so few minutes between practice sessions. I mean, he literally sprinted from the first Xfinity Series practice to the first Sprint Cup Series practice today just to make it there in time. It's been a tough weekend, and both cars haven't been quite to his liking, so that adds to the difficulty of the weekend for Joey Logano, Dave.
Marty, Daniel Suarez would like to pass Joey Logano, but right now he's radioed into his crew that the car is looser and looser as it runs. That'll make it difficult as he draws to the back of the 22, trying to pass him.
Well, you know, we see Daniel Suarez try to work to get by Joey Logano, and the conditions these drivers are working under, very, very impressive. While this isn't maybe the most physical racetrack, Jeff, as far as a short track or road course, very mentally taxing. We've talked about how difficult these corners could be, and this 16 on board is carrying a thermometer. You see right here, 117 degrees inside the race car, Jeff.
It's physically demanded, and now you see the pressure coming. You've got, you know, when you're out there by yourself just making lap time, hey, it's much easier to focus. But right now, a car that seems to be a little bit quicker than the 33 of Brandon Jones is putting pressure on Reed. So now Reed, again, has to hit his marks. This is where it's difficult. The 33 is right underneath him, trying to push the air underneath the car to move the 16 up the racetrack. See if the 33 can make the move.
Good run by the 33 of Brandon Jones through the short chute. We'll see if he can keep that momentum up and utilize it on the long straightaway. Great turn. Yeah, he's going to be able to make the pass as they go down the front stretch.
Well, much like we saw with Elliott Sadler, it was a really nice job of the 33 and Brandon Jones getting his left front fender, his left front splitter lower in the corner than Ryan Reed. Allow that air to get on the nose so he could make.
You know, Steve, Brandon Jones had never been to this racetrack before, so he leaned on his teammate, a former Brickyard 400 winner, Paul Menard, for some advice. I asked him if it worked. He said it has started to work once we got the car to turn. They were awfully tight in practice, but they freed it up quite a bit for this heat race.
Well, it's worked, Mike, because the 33 has looked very good. And there's that balance. You have to have the car turn, and that's why they freed it up. But, Jeff, if you get a little free in, we saw in Sprint Cup qualifying, we heard Jeff Gordon talk about his car getting free in and how he just couldn't carry any speed through the corner.
Yeah, we saw with Casey Kane also, and that corner entry is so important, especially if somebody was behind you, like the 33 of Brandon Jones. You know, if you're free in and then you get somebody right behind you, that's going to make that problem much worse because it pulls the air off the spoiler. So free in is very difficult to deal with. Especially at this racetrack, because you're going so fast. I mean, the straightaway speed here is really fast. You have to transition into a really tight 90-degree corner with very little banking.
Again, these drivers are all fighting for starting positions for the main event, which will be a 60-lap race that will be taking place after the first 2 heats. The 42 of Kyle Larson running second. Dave.
Kyle Larson, of course, used to running several races in an evening this week, having won the Eldora race, which included qualifying races. That was a truck on the dirt. As far as his Xfinity stock car on this 2.5-mile oval, very good. The last time he was in it, sharing the ride with Justin Marks this year, was Pocono, another 2.5-mile track, and he won. Mike?
Well, Dave, if you tuned in for time trial qualifying, you noticed that Elliott Sadler had an extremely loose race car. He told me before the heat that they did make some alterations to try to tighten it up, but still, it's a handful.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to wreck it right now. Extremely loose. About a 7 loose, middle off every corner.
Sadler says he's in complete yaw, and the center and exit of the corners still just trying to hold on. Kelly?
Mike, it goes without saying that the Lilly Diabetes 250 is an important race for the driver of the Lilly Diabetes car, Ryan Reed. He said, hey, it's been a couple months since we've had these heat races. I've got to get back into the mentality of kind of saving the car a bit for the main event. Well, right now, he's saying he just has no lateral grip, and recently reported he is a 4 out of 5 loose, so they'll be making some adjustments after this heat race, Rick.
And they will be able to make a few adjustments. What will end up happening is this heat will come back into the garage area. They will make minor adjustments, but they will be able to make minor adjustments while the second heat is out on the racetrack. Then the second heat will have the same opportunity. They will be able to come in, make minor adjustments before the main event starts. So really a good practice run almost for all these drivers going for a 20-lap run.
Yeah, and you heard really all the cars have small issues right now. Some maybe bigger than others. But that will allow these drivers to actually, I think the best part is they can talk to their crew chief other than on the radio. They'll be able to climb out of the car, looking face to face. You know, sometimes communication over the radio, while you think it's clear, can be a little hard. You use that number scale, whether it's a 7 out of 10 or a 4 out of 5. But when you see the emotion in your driver's eyes, when you get to talk to them firsthand, let him cool off, get out of the race car, sometimes it can be even better feedback.
Want to listen in to Daniel Suarez, what he was just saying on the radio moments ago.
You're in good shape right there. You're the first car for the Dash for Cash.
It is on everyone's mind. There's no question about it. And you can't win this race. Obviously, you want to win every race you're in, but if you can't win it and you're an eligible driver, then that's what's the most important. Be that first guy. Be that second guy that can go and be eligible in our main for that Dash for Cash.
A win at the Brickyard is very, very important. Probably one of the most important things that a stock car driver could ever experience. But also having the opportunity to win a bonus $100,000 has to play very big in the minds of these drivers.
Absolutely. And look at the patience that Daniel Suarez is using right here. I actually believe he's a little better than the 22 of Joey Logano. But he's just patiently riding behind them. There isn't reason to push the issue and damage his car right now. But think also what he's learning. Following a guy like Joey Logano at the Brickyard, just absorbing every corner, every opportunity.
We're under 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One. Out in front, Kyle Busch has been dominant. Has almost a 3-second lead over Kyle Larson. Then Joey Logano just in front of Daniel Suarez. Kyle Busch making his way off the backstretch. Through 3 and into 4. Off of 4 and down the front stretch. Kyle Busch continues his dominance as he will win heat number 1 in Indy. Kyle Busch won the pole earlier, won his heat race. He won the pole for the Cup Series race already, trying to once again sweep the weekend as he did 1 year ago. So the 2 eligible for the Dash for Cash will be Daniel Suarez and Elliott Sadler. Suarez finishing 4th, Elliott Sadler finishing 5th. They were the highest scoring Xfinity Series drivers. So those 2 will have a shot at $100,000 later this afternoon. Suarez won the $100,000 bonus twice last year. Sadler actually won the $100,000 bonus at Daytona back in 2013. We'll hear from some of the Heat 1 drivers as well as get ready for Heat number 2 from Indianapolis when we return. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Lilly Diabetes and by Progressive. Stay on track with great rates at progressive.com. Heat number 1 is in the books. Up front, it was Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson starting on the front row, but the battle really was for the possibility for the dash for cash. Elliott Sadler, Jeff Burton racing for that final spot.
Daniel Torres was the highest finishing Xfinity regular, so that secured his dash for cash spot in the main race.
Kyle Busch's dominance. You see him there across the yard of bricks. A couple poles, now a heat race win.
He continues to win in the Xfinity Series, the winningest driver ever in the history of this series. Kyle Busch gets the win for the heat. He and Kyle Larson had a great run, as did Joey Logano. Again, this will be the inside line for the main event that will be taking place after heat number 2. We have an opportunity to chat with one of the drivers that will be racing for $100,000.
Hey, Elliott, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
Well, mission accomplished. Mission one accomplished, I'm sure. Well, how do you feel about your race car?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of gave up a little bit in qualifying, and our main objective there is to get ourselves qualified for Dash for Cash, and we were able to do that. So job 1 completed. Got a good feeling of the car, still a little bit too loose. Almost kind of what we felt this morning, so the track's definitely changed a little bit. One thing about this break, we can really take our time, look at everything, make some good adjustments, and be a little bit better in the main event.
Well, I know it's hot in there. I'm sure you want to get out. Tell us how hot it is.
Yeah, she's right warm in here. It's pretty hot, but it's Indy. Indy's always hot like this, and I mean, that's what we train for and get ready for. And I think with the track hot and slick, actually, when it becomes showtime in the main event, it's going to make for better racing, better passing, so we're looking forward to that.
Well, thank you for hanging out in there for just a minute talking to us. Have a good day.
Got it.
You know, interesting, because we saw Elliott around town in Indianapolis. You are able to frequent some of the restaurants around here. We saw him, and almost to a man, we all said, man, Elliott Sadler's really looking fit. I mean, he has put a lot of effort into working on his fitness, and obviously when you come to a racetrack where it's so hot and it's so demanding on them physically, that's got to give him an advantage.
Yeah, and I think as soon as we walked in, he told us to order the halibut. And I'm like,
that's true.
He must be eating healthy because we're at a steakhouse, man. I'm eating steak. But he did. He looked exceptionally good. He's been working out hard. And what I liked was his enthusiasm about this race. He felt like they were coming with a car that could win this race. It was the best car they knew how to build. He was really excited about the opportunity for this weekend.
And I think when we talk about the heat, and you can almost see it there in that
camera waves,
shot.
Yeah.
You know, it's not because the drivers get so physically tired they can't drive the car to the level they want. Really, it becomes very mentally taxing. You know, as your muscles get tired, your brain almost have to work harder, and you see mental mistakes, whether it's speeding on pit road, just consistency, not hitting your marks in the corner. So the heat plays a role, even if it's not obvious to us watching. The driver, the more fit the driver is, the better he can do his job throughout the afternoon.
Let's look forward to Heat 2. We'll go down trackside to Kelly.
Yeah, and heat already a factor. Justin Allgaier inside the 7 already kind of wiping off your forehead. You watched that first heat race. What did you take away from it?
Well, I took away from it that Elliott Sadler, our teammate, drove up through the field there and was able to put himself in position to get into this Xfinity Series Dash for Cash. So that was big. Obviously, we'd like to do the same thing here in this second heat race. Track's a little bit slicker than we probably thought it was going to be, but Jason Burdett and the boys did a great job yesterday getting our brand professional agriculture Chevy where we felt like we needed to be out for the long run. Even though this is 20 laps, it's fairly short, it'll be a good judge for what the final 60 is going to be later on this afternoon.
When it comes to storied tracks in this series, Daytona, Talladega, you've come so close to winning those races this year. What would it mean to get one here at the Brickyard?
It would mean a lot. I mean, I grew up only a couple of hours from here in Illinois and came here a lot growing up. I remember sitting up in the grandstands over here, right in turn 1, watching the first 3 or 4 years of the Brickyard 400, and obviously coming over here for the Indy 500. Just all of the things that go on here. It's such an amazing facility, and to be able to pull away with a win here would be amazing. I would take the Dash for Cash today if I can't get to victory lane, but either way, we'd love to come away with some sort of a win today.
Yeah, who wouldn't love that $100,000, Mike?
I'm sure Eric Jones would like a piece of that cash as well, Kelly. He'll lead the field to the green here in heat race number 2. What did you take watching heat race number 1?
Well, I got to see about 10 laps or so, and it looked like once you got out front, you can stay there. So we got a good starting spot here for the Hisense Camry, obviously on the pole. So we'll do what we can and try to stay out front, try to get a good feel for it, and see what we got for the main.
Eric Jones had an incredibly fast car in time trials. Let's see what he has in this heat. Alex?
Well, Mike, just coming off of the heat in the racetrack, Daniel Suarez, he's one of the drivers, will be racing for $100,000 in the Dash for Cash by Xfinity. Daniel, just how hot was it, and what were the track conditions like?
I think you can look into my face and you can tell how hot it was in the car. But overall, I feel like we learned some good stuff in those 20 laps for the main race. Our car was decent, not exactly where it needs to be. I think if we made the right adjustments here, we're going to be in good shape.
Daniel Suarez racing for $100,000. Mike? Dave?
And Alex, Brendan Poole would like to be one of those drivers racing for $100,000. You've got two guys in front of you who are eligible for that. Is that on your mind at all, or other things as you start your first race here at Indy?
Well, it is a little bit. You know, it's exciting to be able to run for $100,000. So thanks to Xfinity for putting it on for us. But we'll see if we can get up there and mix it up with those guys. This DC Solar Camaro has been really fast all weekend. It's a little too loose at the end of qualifying. So we get a little bit more track position and get up there and see what we got for the main.
Brendan mentioned it, Rick. Good speed in the 48 all weekend.
Two drivers are already locked in for the Dash for Cash. Who will join them? Heat number 2 is coming up from Indy. Big concert scheduled for this evening. Kid Rock will be entertaining the fans here at the Brickyard. They've got a hit song all summer long. We're racing all summer long as the heat continues to rise at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we're getting ready for heat number 2. It was Kyle Busch who won heat number 1. Who will win heat number 2? Who will advance for the Dash for Cash? Let's get the engines fired. We go trackside for the command.
All right, here we go. Once again, race fans, now here to give the command for the Lilly Diabetes 250 heat number 2. Please welcome Cindy Hexel, loyal Xfinity customer.
Drivers, start your engines.
Light it up, light it
And the second 20 cars come to life for heat number 2 from the Brickyard. 20 laps coming up next on NBCSN. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR, and by Xfinity. Change the way you experience TV with Xfinity X1. Take a look at the Lilly Diabetes starting grid for heat number 2. Eric Jones and Kevin Harvick making up row number 1. Eric's both wins this season were Dash for Cash races, and Kevin Harvick is 2003 Brickyard 400 winner.
Row 2, we had the 7 of Justin Allgaier. He won his heat race at Dover, starting next to Brickyard 400 champion Paul Menard.
Yeah, Brendan Poole in his first Xfinity Indy start, starting next to Ryan Sieg, who is 11th on the chase grid in row 3.
Back in row 4, it's Darrell Wallace Jr. and Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon won the 2014 NASCAR Xfinity Series race at this track.
Row 5, we have Brendan Gaughan starting next to Dakota Armstrong, who's 15th on the chase grid.
Row 6, Ray Black Jr. making his first Xfinity start at Indy, starting next to Ross Chastain.
Back in row 7, it's B.J. McLeod and David Starr.
Row 8, we have Brandon Gudovic and Ryan Ellis.
Row 9, Joey Gase, starting next to Derek Cope, who competed in the first Brickyard 400 in 1994.
And back in row 10, 2 drivers making their first Xfinity Series Indy start, Todd Peck and Mario Goslin. Let's see if we can chat with Ty Dillon now.
Hey Ty, Chef Burton, you with us? Hey Ty, Jeff Burton, you with us? All right, We'll try him one more time. Hey, Ty, it's Jeff Burton. You with us?
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, bud, I'm sure it wasn't the qualifying result you wanted, but you still think you can get up and challenge for the Dash for Cash spots?
Yeah, I do. This place has been really good to me, and the Dash for Cash heat race has been really good to me, too. My dressing style seems to work out, and definitely not going to be any different here. So we're going to go hard, try and get ourselves locked in. I think our main focus today is to win the overall race, and that'll put us in the chase no matter what, but it would be nice to get locked in here today.
Ty, thank you for taking time to talk to the fans for a little bit. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Now let's go to pit road. Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, what's the advantage of being in Heat 2? Well, if you have teammates, could be fairly significant. Elliott Sadler helping out Kevin Harvick and Justin Allgaier with a few tips on the racetrack, saying it's gotten very slick, lost a lot of grip, so expect a loose race car. Mike?
Marty, I just had a conversation with prolific car runner Jack Roush about his racing career. He told me he has over 400 career wins in NASCAR and road racing. In fact, he gave me this commemorative coin. He said, this commemorates our 400th win. But you know, with a victory in Indianapolis, one he's never had, he traded in a bucket load of these for one trophy from here. Dave?
Mike, Ty Dillon had 7 cars qualify in front of him, 5 of them chase eligible, but you just heard his confidence about getting past them and becoming eligible for another bonus. The other thing going in his favor, though, he's got more points than any other driver who is eligible for the chase this year, and he hopes he gets the chase berth with a win today. Kelly?
Dave, Brendan Gaughan is one of the more experienced drivers in this field, and even he admits it is tough racing around here. He said you have to fight the car getting into the corners. For a guy who grew up wanting to race Indy cars, this place is even more special. He would love to top his best ever finish here and come away with his 9th top 10 of the season. Rick?
He's been running very well. We're going to ride along with 2 different drivers in this heat. One of those being the 48 of Brennan Poole. He'll start 5th today with DC Solar in-car camera, as well as the driver of the 88, Kevin Harvick. He will start 2nd and carries the Hunts Brothers Pizza onboard camera. The outside line led by Kevin Harvick. The inside line, Eric Jones. So once again, the top 2 Xfinity Series drivers, wherever they finish in this heat, they will become eligible for the Dash for Cash $100,000 bonus in the main event later this afternoon. Eric Jones, Justin Allgaier, Brennan Poole, Ryan Sieg, Darrell Wallace Jr., Ty Dillon, Brendan Gaughan, Dakota Armstrong, all eligible, all starting in the top 10. 2x2 once again. On the inside, it's Eric Jones bringing the field to the green flag as they enter the start zone. Green flags in the air. 2 and 3 wide as they get into turn number 1. Eric Jones with a great start. Justin Allgaier also very good on the inside of Harvick. Allgaier in the 7, Kevin Harvick in the 88 on the outside. Down the back stretch they go. Speeds over 180 miles an hour as they enter turn 3. Poole making that inside line work with the number 48. Poole's moved up into the 5th spot. Chasing after Paul Menard. Kevin Harvick running 2nd. 2 Cup regulars. Down the long front straightaway. The 6 of Darrell Wallace Jr. making the pass. Here comes Ty Dillon looking to the inside of Brendan Gaughan.
They get sorted out. Brendan Gaughan makes a wise decision. Go ahead and get behind Ty Dillon. Had they left side by side off of turn 2, would have opened the door for a move from behind. So smart move by Brendan. And I don't think that Ty was able to get the start. You know, he needed something to happen for him. He needed something to happen in the front that allowed him to get a run going. Now they're stretched out so far, it's going to be hard for Ty to run these guys down to get into that eligible spot for the cash.
Paul Menard past the 48 of Brennan Poole, Darrell Wallace Jr. in front of Ryan Sieg. Darrell Wallace Jr. in the 6, Ryan Sieg in the 39. We've seen some incredible speed out of the 39 and Ryan Sieg as of lately. Things have really picked up for that team as they try to stay in front of the 3 of Ty Dillon. Dillon looks to the inside as they enter one.
Yeah, Ryan Sieg does a nice job of not giving that lane to him. He knew he was still clear, so he took a standard entrance into the corner, shutting that air off to the 3 car.
Yeah, Ty just kind of showed it to Ryan. Just said, hey, I'm here. I want the spot. He didn't have the spot, but in some cases, when a guy in front of you knows you're faster, you show it to him, he'll give you that spot. So Ty took a shot at it. Ryan didn't bite.
This time he's inside, though, and Ryan Sieg is going to have to let the 3 go by.
Ty Dillon moves up to the 7th spot, but he is still 5 spots back as far as Xfinity Series only drivers. He needs to get by Justin Allgaier, who right now it's Eric Jones and Allgaier that are the 2 that are eligible for the Dash for Cash $100,000 bonus. Now, Ty Dillon is the only driver in the field this weekend that has a possibility of locking himself into the chase with 2 Dash for Cash wins. Eric Jones already has wins in the series, so he's locked himself into the chase. But Ty Dillon, if he gets into the top 2 in this race and is able to win the Dash for Cash, that would lock him into the chase as well.
Well, it's definitely going to be a battle for his currently running in the 7th position. You know, this is actually, in my opinion, the tougher of the 2 heats to make the Dash for Cash, because in this heat, really, we only have Kevin Harvick and Paul Menard as the 2 ineligible drivers. So this heat is full of eligible Dash for Cash drivers.
Yeah, we saw Elliott Sadler. He started fairly far back in the first heat, but he just didn't have as much competition in regard to who was eligible, so he was able to work his way up as opposed to Ty. There's so many cars that are eligible. You know, the furthest back of those eligible drivers running is 3rd. And, you know, Ty is 7th, so that's a long way to go, unless you get a caution. If you get a caution here, restarts can get crazy, anything can happen.
Eric Jones currently 1.8 seconds in front of Kevin Harvick. This is what he had to say on the radio.
Brandon, remind him no harder than he has to here. Still 10 back here. No harder than you have to go, bud.
So a little strategy being played in this 20-lap heat. Eric Jones running very strong, just like we saw Kyle Busch do in the first heat.
Well, for 2 reasons, Rick. You know, one, you don't want to push your equipment any harder than you need to, but also, if you're Eric Jones and you have a comfortable lead, don't show Kevin Harvick how much he needs to improve for the feature. You know, we've talked about this being a good 20-lap little test session for drivers and crew chiefs to see how much they need to work on their car. While Kevin Harvick knows how he wants his car to drive in the 2nd position, he might not understand how far off the leader he is speed-wise if Eric Jones just runs a conservative pace.
And I also think it's important, if you're leading or you're 2nd, if you get that caution and you haven't pushed your tires, then it's a good chance your car will fire off better on a restart. So there's no sense in running those tires any harder than you have to. You're not going to really necessarily hurt the car by running it hard. It's more about the tires.
Look at this vantage point that we're getting from Brendan Poole. And this camera actually will rotate 360 degrees. We can look all throughout the inside and out of this car.
It's going to give us a great vantage point, especially later in the race on these crazy restarts, to be able to see all the action around this 48 car. But looking out front, you see how long and narrow this front stretch is and how small this window of entry is into this corner. He lifts. You see a little movement in the car all the way down right to the, I want to call it curbing. It's not really curbing, but there's a strip of concrete on the inside of the corner.
And we're right about at the eye level of Brendan Poole, and that's a great vantage point as we look just how close you get to the wall there as well.
So this right here is, for this week, NASCAR's retired. You see in the right rear quarter window, that NACA duct is normally an optional part for these cars on the Xfinity side. But NASCAR decided after the heat last year and seeing the forecast this year, they required all the competitors to run that open right side NACA duct. And where that hose go has been specified. You must blow the air on the driver, looking for a little bit of safety.
And the reason it's required is because this racetrack gets so hot that you can see last year the results. The cars stay sealed off. They're close to the ground. No air going underneath the cars in this racetrack. So when it's hot here, it's hot. And listen, if it is an aerodynamic disadvantage to have that NACA duct open. So the teams nor the drivers will open it if NASCAR doesn't say you have to. So NASCAR makes it mandatory, takes it out of the choice of the driver, out of the choice of the crew chief, and says you're going to run it because it's going to be that hot.
The ambient temperature right now at Speedway, Indiana is 90 degrees, but because of the humidity, it feels like it's 99 degrees. And we saw earlier in Ryan Reed's car, the temperature was over 120 degrees just inside of that car.
You saw Ty Dillon once again make that move, trying to show Darrell Wallace, hey, I want this spot. I'm fast. You see how early he turns. He also turns early in that case just to try to get away from the rear spoiler of the 6 car. You have to turn early. If not, you're just in the wake of that car, and your car loses grip. So right now he's trying to get as close as he can to the 6, make a move. I don't think the 6 has a choice. Got to give him the spot now. No, he doesn't. Fights back.
Darrell Wallace Jr. not wanting to give up that spot. Eric Jones and Justin Allgaier are the 2 that are in the Dash for Cash positions. Brendan Poole, Darrell Wallace Jr., Ty Dillon, the 3 on the outside looking in.
And you can see how hard it is to pass here. I believe that Ty is a little bit faster than Darrell in front of him. You just can't get by him. And one of the reasons why is because of that wake I was talking about. Now Ty is having to turn his car sooner than he wants to. If he tries to stay out late and then turn in like the 6 car, he gets tight or he gets loose because there's no air on his car. So he has to start making compromises in the way he wants to drive because of the wake of the 6 car. So that's the problem with Indy. That's why it's so difficult to pass here. And it's why you see drivers on restarts have to get so aggressive. Again, Ty turning very early, trying to get air to the nose of the car.
He almost has to time it right there, Jeff. You can't pass from right on the rear bumper of the 6. Ty Dillon needs to enter the corner 2 car lengths back, get the clean air, get it turned to the bottom like he did right here. Now the 3 might have a run down the backstretch. We're going to see the 6 as he's done it all the straightaway. No, this time he doesn't. He has been swerving to try to break the draft. This time he stays in line. I think the 3 is going to jump out here entering turn 3.
Had the momentum. Can he get beside him? He does. Darrell Wallace Jr. on the outside. Ty Dillon on the inside, trying to take that position away. Look at their hands move, and then we just saw Darrell Wallace Jr. wave out the window at Ty Dillon.
I think late in the race, if this were the main, I think Darrell goes in there too wide because there's no one behind him. If there was someone behind you, then you're better off, falling in behind Ty, because if you come off turn 4 side by side, the freight train is coming. But in that situation, right now, Darrell Wallace did the right thing and let him go.
Ty Dillon, the 24-year-old out of Welcome, North Carolina, taking on the 22-year-old from Mobile, Alabama. Out front, though, it's still Eric Jones. Welcome back to Heat 2 of the NASCAR Xfinity Series Lilly Diabetes 250, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. Select your in-car video or camera angle, access integrated driver stats, lap-by-lap commentary, and social conversation in real time. You won't miss a lap when you visit NASCAR.com/drive on your personal computer now. Let's get some updates as we have 6 laps to go in this second heat. We'll start with Mike.
And Rick, Eric Jones is out front, but he's not pushing the car as hard as he could, just trying to maintain speed and the lead he has. What he's really trying to do is gather knowledge he can bring into the main event a little bit later in the afternoon. His spotter, Chris Lambert, just came over the radio and said, as you approach these slower cars right now, figure out the best place where you can pass without losing momentum. That's important information to take into the main. Marty?
Mike Paul Menard hanging out in the 4th position and riding right there with the tight race car. It's funny because everybody in Heat 1 said the racetrack was very loose. Menard saying, and a lot of other drivers saying, his car way too tight. You know, Danny Stockman, his crew chief, was very excited about this weekend because this car debuted at Kentucky a couple of weeks ago with Austin Dillon behind the wheel. Finished 2nd there. They feel like they've taken a step to beating those Gibbs cars. We'll see what these guys have in the main feature. Kelly?
Brennan Cole in the 48 car turned his first ever laps at Indy on Friday. He said it was really cool. He actually got a little emotional remembering how his dad Tom first brought him here as a 10-year-old boy. Well, his dad Tom on hand here to watch his son race here for the first time ever. Brennan at about lap 10 said his car was getting a little bit free, and now he just said he's losing some lateral rear grip. Dave?
Kelly, the start of this race was the best opportunity for Ty Dillon to get in the dash for cash position. He was only 2 car lengths going double file at the restart behind Justin Allgaier. His car's been so loose, though, now that gap has grown to 13 seconds, and as the booth has already mentioned, no opportunity really unless he gets a caution. Rick?
Yeah, a little bit discouraging, I'm sure, for Ty Dillon after winning the Xfinity Series race here 2 years ago. Probably one of the biggest wins of his career. Kevin Harvick has also won at the Brickyard 400. He's driving the 88 today in the Xfinity Series, and a former Xfinity Series champion. We ride along with Kevin.
And Kevin driving his Hunt Brothers pizza car. You know, you just have to think he's going to be a threat when it comes down to it. That Kevin Harvick knows that this race isn't as important as the next one, and you know, without a doubt, we've seen the Gibbs cars have just dominated this series, but Kevin Harvick at this racetrack, you have to think when this race starts later this afternoon that he is going to challenge in some form or fashion. He'll find a way to get there when it counts.
And Jeff, you know Harvick will find his way to the front. He loves running here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And you talk about that dominance that Gibbs has. Junior Motorsports certainly trying to catch up a little bit. I was talking to Dave Ellens, the crew chief for Kevin Harvick. He said, but we're in a tough stretch right now. We have 6 different drivers in this 88 car in the next 6 weeks or over a 6-week period. So when we have all these different drivers, we really can't experiment a whole lot with setups trying to catch those Gibbs guys. When you have all these different drivers, it makes it a little difficult on the crew chief, doesn't it, Steve?
It does, and I think Dave Ellens does a really nice job with this 88 because they do rotate a lot of drivers through. And it's just an approach. You know, what makes it even more difficult, is rarely do they put a driver in this 88 that isn't expected to go win or contend for wins. That makes, so now Dave Ellens' job even more difficult because now they're rotating different drivers through and all have high expectations.
And as you know, when you're trying to chase someone, when you're trying to find a way to run with Gibbs, those guys are working harder than Gibbs is. You know what I mean? Like when you're trying to catch up, it's so difficult. And the Gibbs guys, they're able to build on something that's working. That's a major difference from having something that's already working, just trying to make it better. These guys, the Gibbs, they got something that's really fast. They can make small adjustments. Everybody else is going to have to find something big, aerodynamics, setup, all those kind of things, and that's why it's so difficult, why it's so hard to catch up.
Eric Jones, 2 wins already on the 2016 season, and both of those wins were dash for cash races, meaning he has already collected $200,000 in bonus money. 7 of Justin Allgaier trying to hold on to that second spot that will be eligible for dash for cash in the main event, Marty.
And Rick, heard him talk to Kelly in the pre-race. This place is so special to him. His family had season tickets for the Indianapolis 500 for a number of years, and he came to the first 3 Brickyard 400s. I said, hey, did that make you a big Jeff Gordon fan? He said, actually, I was a Ken Schrader fan, and I wanted Schrader to run well at this racetrack so badly and he never would have a good finish. He and Schrader have joked about that in years since then, but he came here as a Schrader fan, hoping Schrader would get him a win at the Brickyard. That never happened. Maybe Justin can get Schrader a win at the Brickyard. White flag, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. 1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One. Eric Jones making his way down the backstretch as he will take turns 3 and 4 for the final time in this second heat, and it's been a dominant performance once again for the Joe Gibbs driver. Eric Jones has almost an 8-second lead over second place Kevin Harvick. Down the front stretch for the final time, and Eric Jones will win at the Brickyard. He takes the Heat 2 win. Kevin Harvick will
Good work, bud.
hold on for second. And the other Dash for Cash car will be the 7 of Justin Allgaier. So Allgaier and Jones are going to advance out of their heats with the possibility of winning $100,000 today. Jones has done it twice before in 2016. Justin Allgaier have his opportunity later this afternoon. Joe Gibbs Racing has been dominant, and once again, both able to win the heats. It was Kyle Busch in heat number 1, and this time Eric Jones wins heat number 2. We'll hear from some drivers when we return.
We hope you're having a great day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, coming up top of the hour, the 60-lap main event deciding the 5th annual Lilly Diabetes 250. Stick around. The show has only just begun here at the world's greatest race course.
NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And by Coca-Cola. Taste the feeling. Let's take a look at the results of heat number 2. Eric Jones with the win. Kevin Harvick finishing second. Justin Allgaier also the big winner in this race because he will also advance for the Dash for Cash in the main event and have a shot at $100,000.
see Ty Dillon was only able to get up to 6th there. Some other finishers, Ross Chastain, Ray Black Jr. right there, 11th and 12th.
So the 4 drivers that are now eligible for the Dash for Cash $100,000 bonus: Daniel Suarez, Elliott Sadler, Eric Jones, and Justin Allgaier. Whichever one of the 4 finishes in front of the other 3 will win $100,000. All right, let's chat with one of the drivers eligible.
Hey, Eric, it's Jeff. You with us?
Yeah, it's in 4.
Well, man, you made that look easy. What'd you learn about your car?
I learned a lot, actually. Kind of the migration was the biggest thing for us to learn, and we figured that out pretty well there, I feel like. So be interesting to see what the pace of the 18 was. I didn't get to see many of his lap times in the first heat race, but the Hisense Camry is good. I think we make a few adjustments on it. We'll be right up there and be able to challenge for a win.
So do you feel like you can win? Is your focus on winning or getting that $100,000?
I'm focused on winning. I'd love to win a race here at Indy, so we're all focused on that, and getting ourselves a chance to kiss the bricks would be pretty awesome.
All right, buddy. Thanks for taking time, and we'll talk to you later.
10-4, thank you.
And so these cars now are headed between garages B and C in the garage area. And what they will do is they will be able to add fuel and change tires. That's the only thing they'll be able to do back here in the garage. Then as soon as that is done, the cars will be taken back to pit road and final adjustments will be made for the drivers in Heat 2, which include the generators can be hooked up. They're going to have the cool down unit. That will be able to be used. Tape can be adjusted. Packers may be added or removed. Track bar and wedges. The wedge adjustment may be adjusted. Radios can be changed, and cool down lines will be removed at that time.
And really, when we sat down with NASCAR, understanding how this whole process went, Rick, it became very obvious that they put a lot of work into this to try to make it equal for both the Heat 1 and the Heat 2 competitors. So while Heat 2 was going on, there were certain adjustments that were able to happen on the Heat 1 competitors. Now the Heat 2 guys can put fuel and tires in. So they have really looked at not just what you're allowed to do, but the time spot in which you are allowed to do it to try to keep it equitable between both heats.
And let's go to Dave Burns.
And Rick, I think that's a great topic. The mechanics of what has been done to the race cars. NASCAR tried to keep equal between Heats 1 and Heats 2. But are you glad you were in Heat 1 to go break it down a little bit, maybe take a break?
Yeah, I'm nice and cool now. So, yeah, qualifying, I was third or whatever, and or after the second round I was third, and or I don't know what I was, but I just
I've gotten confused once today as well, but the main thing is you're going to start on the inside of the second row there.
I just didn't want Suarez to beat me in qualifying, so I'd be in the second heat race, because then I knew I'd be hot for the race. So I'm glad I was in the first race there, get cooled off. Our Parker Store Chevy was pretty decent there in that heat race. I know Kyle was probably just playing around with us. He ran about a half-tenth quicker than me every lap, and then decided to go half-second quicker there with 2 to go. So he's obviously got the car to beat. I think Eric Jones, he'll be really tough. I'm sure if Suarez gets a good restart or a good start here, he'll be hard to beat too. But I feel like we're top 3 car, and we could probably work with that and hopefully get a win.
Second time this week you've had a qualifying race before the main. Anything like Eldora here today?
No, this is a lot different than Eldora. Eldora, the track changes so much throughout the night. Here at Indy, it changes, with cloud cover and when the sun comes out and stuff like that. But I don't know, heat races are a different animal, I guess, on pavement.
I can tell you what, there is one similarity. Actually, there's a couple. The track changes. Kyle just mentioned it. Remember how the discussion at Eldora was all about moisture in the racing surface? So I can tell you, there's plenty of moisture here today, right?
There is definitely plenty of moisture rolling around this garage area today.
All right, Kyle Larson trying to catch those Gibbs cars and everybody else when this main begins, Mike.
Well, they've got a whole bunch of drivers around my monitor here watching those highlights from Eldora. Everybody enjoying it. Elliott Sadler finished 5th in his heat race. What do you know now that you didn't know before that?
We just, the tracks changed a little bit from practice yesterday, so that's really what we know. And we really sat down after the first race and looked at all our sim, and tried to make the right adjustments. We know we got to be a little bit faster, compete with the top couple, and I think to go after this Dash for Cash that XFINITY has put on for us today. So that's what I know. Track's a little different. We've made adjustments to hopefully go with it.
I know when you look back on your history, there was a time when you came awfully close to getting an Indianapolis victory. How much do you think about that as you go into this race?
I still think about it a lot. I just kind of ripped my heart out that day. It would have been cool to win the inaugural race here, but you know, we got a pretty decent car again today. I think everybody at Junior Motorsports, they've worked their guts out to progress as we've gone through the season, and we brought a really good car here today, my favorite car, and hopefully it'll prevail in the race and put us in position. And look, you never know about this place. Pitch strategy, fuel mileage, a lot of different things. Restarts can play into who can win this race here, and hopefully we'll be there at the end to see what happens.
Elliott Sadler trying to deliver a win for his, as he says, boss man, Dale Earnhardt Jr. today. Marty?
Well, Michael, we talked about the heat, certainly a factor all weekend long. And when does a race car get its hottest? It's when it actually stops running and goes into the garage area and sits and waits. And that's what the round or the second heat drivers are doing right now. They've gone back into the garage area and the cars are just sitting and getting a lot warmer. And inside Kevin Harvick's race car, there's been a consideration all weekend long. Remember a couple of weeks ago at Sonoma, he burnt the back of his heels and he had a big problem, big blister on the back of his heels. So they actually ran a second NACA duct. Steve talked about the mandatory one from NASCAR in the right rear. They had one in the right front all weekend long. Dave Ellens told me, listen, it's a little bit of a penalty in terms of downforce on the race car, but it's okay. We are not going to worry about it because we want Kevin Harvick's heels to be taken care of. So the driver is getting a little warm back there if they were in heat 2 back inside the garage area. Rick?
Yeah, absolutely, Marty. Just over your shoulder, there's actually a couple cars that have red bands across the top of the windshield. That means that they are eligible for the Dash for Cash $100,000. And that's another one of the adjustments that will be made to the two cars from this heat. There's Eric Jones's car. The red band has been put on the windshield, as Eric will be eligible, as will Justin Allgaier. All four of the drivers that are eligible for the Dash for Cash have won money in the Dash for Cash before. So we'll see who will prevail this afternoon. Kelly.
With Brandon Jones, who got his first taste of racing action here at Indy. How was it, Brandon?
This is a tough animal for sure. You know, it's his first time seeing this place yesterday in practice. I think we struggled a little bit yesterday, but the guys made awesome changes from there to qualifying this morning. And I think we've got an awesome Menards Chevy to go at it this week. So looking forward to getting back out there. Thought we were pretty close for the Dash for Cash right there at the end. And just slipped up a little bit, and a couple of them got by me there. But I think we've got an awesome Chevy, like I said, to go at it.
So what was your big takeaway? It sounds like you may have learned something out there.
I think, well, you get really tight behind people is the biggest thing I saw right there. So trying to keep the air on the nose the whole time is going to be key. May free it up a little bit right here to start, and just to be able to turn underneath people and pass when we need to. So that's the biggest thing I took away from it. So we'll see how it plays out here for 60 laps.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Marty?
Well, let's chat with Kevin Harvick and find out exactly how hot that heat race was. That was only 20 laps, Kevin.
Yeah, these cars are notoriously hotter, so you definitely have to prepare for it as you get up in the morning and go throughout the day. But our Hunt Brothers Pizza Chevy was driving okay. Just, you know, the Gibbs cars are just so fast. Got a guy with not very much experience that drives away from a straightaway from the whole field, and they just do a really good job. And you know, right now we just got to make something happen in order to beat those guys. But we're not going to beat them on sheer speed. But car's driving okay. We got to gain a little speed.
Is there anything you learned in that first heat that you can make adjustment-wise now that might help you in the main?
The balance of our car was not great. It would slide the front, but as the run would go, the back would start going with the front. So we had a couple of problems that we need to work on. I think we can make it better, but I don't know that we can make it that much better on speed. We just, you know, you're going to have to make something happen to capitalize on a mistake or something like that.
I know your heels have been a concern for a while, and goodness knows how hot it is down there in the wheel well where your feet are, Kevin. How much of a concern was that? Are they feeling okay? And I know you guys also put a NACA duct in to kind of help cool it a little bit.
Yeah, actually everybody at JRM and Stewart Haas Racing has done a good job. This has actually got one of our newer Stewart Haas Racing floorboards in it with some different insulation. The Cup cars got some different things in the floorboard this week. So I had the problem again last week because I thought my left heel was good enough, and then it barely got hot and blistered it again. The right one was fine. So cars are hot, but heck, that's part of summer racing.
I can tell you what, no doubt, these guys are working hard down here, Rick. A lot of sweating going on from these drivers, and that was just 20 laps. The main feature still coming.
That's right, Marty. And anybody who's ever touched a hot pan or or accidentally burn themselves knows what a blister can look like. But how about if it's on your heel? That was Kevin Harvick's heel after Sonoma, a very, very hot race, very painful on his heel.
Yeah, this is something that probably most drivers have dealt with at some point in their career. And the problem with it is, just like he said, you think everything's good, and then you burn them just a little bit and it comes back. So you really have to protect them, but you can't stay out of the car. You got to get back in the car. So you heard him talk about the new floorboards. The teams are always working to build as much insulation with lightweight materials, all kinds of things they can do to keep the heat from the driver's feet, because you have to remember the exhaust pipe runs directly beneath the driver's feet. And once you burn them, it takes forever to heal up.
And I apologize. I should have given a warning to those of you that, it wasn't a pleasant picture that we were showing of Kevin Harvick's heel. As a matter of fact, Joey Logano, that was his reaction when he saw what Kevin Harvick's heel looked like. Let's go down there now. How you doing now, Joey?
He still has that expression on his face right now, Rick. That was pretty disgusting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nasty.
Ugh. I know you were talking about the heat, too. How are your feet in that car?
What heat? No, it's hot for sure, no doubt. It's important to keep yourself cool for tomorrow's race. Really, you don't want to get any blisters like that to race on Sunday here. So I think we got an okay discount tire Ford. We were third quick there. I feel like actually Suarez was probably a little bit faster than me. So I don't know. It's hard to pass. We'll just try to be aggressive on the restarts and try to beat him a different way right now.
I know Roger is still looking for a Brickyard 400 victory in the Sprint Cup Series, but he has one in the Xfinity Series here. Can you give him another one of those trophies?
Like I said, it's going to be something different. It's going to have the Gibbs cars in particular are really fast, and particularly the front row in this race is really fast. So we got to do something different to beat them right now.
All right. Just to correct myself, of course Rogers won the Indy 500 only 16 times. Rick?
He is the winningest, actually, Indy 500 owner in the history of this racetrack. Let's find out if he can get a Brickyard 400. But we're going to get the command next for the Xfinity race.
Chastain ready to go, strapped in.
Back at a hot Indianapolis, you can see the cars are gridded for the main feature of the Lilly Diabetes 250, and also a little dash for cash with the Xfinity Series. Justin Allgaier, you're one of the guys in the dash for cash. How do you get it done?
Well, you know, it's going to be tough. It's hot and slick, and really proud of the guys back at Junior Motorsports. They've done a great job. We've got a good brand professional agriculture Chevy. Obviously, getting in the dash for cash, it's huge thanks to Xfinity for what they do for our sport, but getting into the first part, now we got to make sure we do it in the main race here. So teammates in front of me, I got another teammate in the dash for cash as well, so I feel like we got a good shot at pulling off a good solid finish, and I think today that's what it's going to take to definitely get this dash for cash.
$100,000 on the line for these dash for cash drivers, Rick.
Yeah, and they're going to try to get by Kyle Busch, because to win at Indianapolis would be the biggest prize. I mean, $100,000 is great, but to say you've won here is bigger than virtually anywhere in racing.
Absolutely, especially for these young drivers. Remember, this series has only been coming here. This will be the 5th race. All these young men are making their first ever start here at this facility.
Quite a few making their first starts. Let's get the engines fired. We go once again trackside for the command.
And now, here to give the command for the Lilly Diabetes 250 main event, please welcome Lilly Diabetes guest, Rudy Juarez.
Drivers, start your engines.
Okay, that one we put on it.
Saw Kevin Harvick adjusting, still trying to adjust the steering wheel to get it on correctly. Joey Logano strapped in, and we'll be back for the green flag right after this. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota, let's go places, and by Lilly Diabetes.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For racers around the world, this iconic track fuels their wildest dreams. 4 years ago, NASCAR's up-and-comers got the chance to realize those dreams as the Xfinity Series debuted at Indy. And it was here that one of its current stars broke through for the biggest win of his life.
His first NASCAR win at the Brickyard for Ty Dillon.
Today, Ty Dillon is back, part of a group of fearless young drivers poised to transform the sport.
Daniel Suarez wins. He won at Bristol on the concrete. He wins at Dover on the concrete.
But if they want to kiss the bricks, they'll have to beat him.
And Kyle Busch is going to win at Indianapolis.
Today, Busch, Dillon, and a field of hopefuls race for one of the sport's biggest prizes, a checkered flag at the Brickyard.
Welcome back. Today's starting grid brought to you by Eli Lilly as we take a look. Front row, Kyle Busch and Eric Jones, the 20-year-old out of Byron, Michigan, one of the Dash for Cash drivers. He's won 2 of them already this year.
Yeah, row 2, we have Kyle Larson, who won Wednesday night at Eldora, starting next to Kevin Harvick, a former Brickyard 400 winner.
Row 3 is Joey Logano and another one of our Dash for Cash drivers, Justin Allgaier.
Let's stay on that theme. Back in row 4, number 19 of Daniel Suarez, that 24-year-old out of Monterrey, Mexico, also a Dash for Cash driver.
Well, let's just stick with it. The Dash for Cash driver, Elliott Sadler, and Brennan Poole, row 5.
Row 6, we have Jeb Burton making his first Indianapolis start, and Ty Dillon, the 2014 winner of this race.
I'll stay on that theme as well. Also making his first Indy start, the 19-year-old out of Atlanta, Georgia, Brandon Jones, starting 13th.
Row 8, we have Ryan Reed, starting next to Brendan Gaughan.
It's time to speak with the driver of the number 16 Eli Lilly Ford Mustang, Ryan Reed. Let's dial him up.
Hey, Ryan, Jeff Burton at NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yeah, man, I got you.
Well, you ran your heat race earlier in the day. Tell us what you learned.
Oh, man, it's hot and slick. We were really loose that first segment, so we got pretty spread out, too, so just kind of showed me how important the start's going to be here. Also felt like watching on my Xfinity X1 app over there in the motorhome, watching the last heat race, feel like I learned some stuff about what those guys are doing later into a run. So tires are going to be a big deal, and we're just going to have to be heads up and give good feedback and let the crew chief work hard on it all race long.
Well, we're riding along with you right now. We see it's almost 113 degrees in there. Tell us what kind of challenges that poses to you.
Yeah, well, it's hot. Definitely got to stay hydrated. Obviously, having type 1 diabetes makes it that much more important to stay hydrated. The more dehydrated I get, the higher my blood sugar goes. So I'll have to keep an eye on that throughout the race. And like I said, stay hydrated. That's the name of the game. And I feel really good right now. So 60 more, and we'll see how we end up.
All right, we'll be riding along and watching. Have a good day.
Thanks, buddy.
And let's go trackside to Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, his teammate Bubba Wallace was actually on pit road for a moment. They actually had a battery issue when they fired up the car. Teammate of Ryan Reed. There you see him leaving pit road now. They pushed him back to the pit stall, and then they finally determined that the volts he had was enough, so they sent him back out. You see him, that was a replay of them coming down to check the battery to make sure that everything was okay, and it was fine. So Bubba Wallace, a little bit of a concern, but they're going to send him out for the main feature anyway.
Not what you want to have before the start of the race. So he will have to start at the tail of the field, as will the 78 of B.J. McLeod, the 25 of Stanton Barrett, and the 15 of Todd Peck, all for unapproved adjustments during the time between the heat races and this main.
And Rick, we've already seen 220 lap heats. This is a short feature for the Xfinity Series, only 60 laps. But we heard all the drivers talk about the speed that these Joe Gibbs Toyotas have. But remember, the only time we hand out a trophy for the fastest car is when it comes to qualifying. In the race, you not only need to have speed on your car, you have to execute on and off pit road. Can't speed on pit road. Have to be very good behind the wheel, smart on top of the pit box. We've heard how important tires are, how slick the track is. There's a lot of unanswered questions. Even though the Joe Gibbs cars are showing speed, look how hot it is out. 93 degrees. Track temp 135 degrees, Rick. This track is going to be very difficult to get a hold of.
And you have to remember that the fastest car doesn't always win these races, so you have to keep yourself in position to try to make something happen.
2 by 2. They make their way once again down the front stretch as they enter the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. Racing at Indy. Great start once again for Kyle Busch in the 18 out front, but also Kyle Larson jumped down that restart when he entered turn 1 and was able to get by Eric Jones.
And Rick, we talked to him between the heat race or after the heat races, and he already mentioned that important first start. He needed to beat Eric Jones, and that's what he has done.
And a great run down the front stretch as he'll start to challenge Kyle Busch now. Into turn 3 and the short chute. Kyle Busch out in front of Kyle Larson, Eric Jones, and it's Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and Justin Allgaier. Joey Logano in the 22, running 4th. Field strung out a bit back into the 15th position. Ryan Reed, running 14th, was on the inside as he was entering turn number 1. They will take that spot away from the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. Again, a 60-lap main event. Fuel window, Steve, we're obviously going to see them have to make a pit stop. Anywhere from 30 to maybe 33?
You go just a little bit farther. You can go about 35, 36 laps here in the Xfinity Series. It really comes down to what the crew chief thinks. If we have a caution around lap 20 or 25, will you come outside the fuel window? What's more important, fuel or tires? Remember, Rick, this is one of those unique racetracks that you could pit from the lead or the front 2 or 3 spots and not lose a lap. Some teams can run this like a road course.
Even though it is such a long pit road all the way down the front stretch, still the opportunity, because it's such a big racetrack, that you could come to pit road and not lose a lap.
2 junior motorsports cars right there, the 7 of Justin Allgaier and Elliott Sadler. When I look at the field, really as a whole, the Joe Gibbs Toyotas definitely seem to have the pace, but I feel that this team has probably made the biggest gain in the last month. It seems like these JRM cars, junior motorsports cars, have found a little bit more speed than what they've had, as you see Elliott Sadler pull out of line, but Justin Allgaier is going to defend into turn 3.
That's something you'll see with these Xfinity cars. They do draft up a little bit better than the Cup cars. They make a lot of drag. They make less power. So if you can stay close to a guy coming off the corner with a little bit of momentum, you do get a little bit of gain down the front straightaway. You see Kevin Harvick trying to make a move on 19. 19 pulls down to the left to block that move, to try to block that draft. Prevents Kevin Harvick from being able to make any move at all.
And look at that snake down the front stretch as they all draft and trying to break the draft. Right there, though, pulling out of line. We said earlier, Darrell Wallace Jr. had to go all the way to the back. Right there at the start of this race, he pulls up into the 23rd position. That's plus 16 spots already, Marty.
And see, they made him start in the very back because he didn't come in with 1 to go. They originally did think it was a battery issue, but now they think it might have been just hot fuel inside the race car, because when he was swaying side to side in the warm-up laps, the car was actually shutting off. But when he came in with 1 to go, NASCAR said, because you came to pit road, you have to start at the back of the field. So he's already made a lot of progress, but he had to start deep in the field in the first place.
And Rick, one thing we need to remember, the Xfinity cars, unlike the Sprint Cup cars we'll see tomorrow afternoon, are still run a carburetor. These are not fuel injected, so the fuel temperature can get high enough that you almost get like in a vapor lock situation, and the car won't run smooth. So I can see how that situation can happen with the car sitting. We mentioned how warm the cars get when they just sit and heat soak. That could be what happened to the 6 of Bubba Wallace.
But again, a big move for Darrell Wallace Jr. He's up to 22nd, starting 40th, very back of the field. Kyle Busch still out front. Kyle Larson 0.8 of a second behind him. Jones, Logano, and Suarez the top 5.
We talk about Indianapolis and how hard it is to pass, and opportunities present itself to you. Look at Blake Cook making a move on Brendan Gaughan. He's not able to make the move. He turned left trying to talk Brendan Gaughan into giving him the spot. He gets up next to him, but Brendan had a good run down the back straightaway. So Blake was not able to pull the pass off. Look what it did to Blake. 2 cars got by him. So when you try to make a pass here at Indy, if you don't pull it off, it's going to cost you, especially when you have cars behind you. And that's a great example of knowing when to make the move and when not to make the move.
14 of Jeff Green, just in front of Darrell Wallace Jr. Jeff Green, a former Xfinity Series champion. Both drivers below the white line as they went through the turn. Trying to take full advantage of that area a little bit more grip for the cars, and they're side by side. Darrell Wallace Jr. trying to get the run down the backstretch.
And where he had to pass, oh, that's tight getting back in. Where he had to pass is where you don't want to have to pass. You want to be able to pass off turn 1 and turn 3 because there's short straightaways off of 1 and off of 3. When you have to pass someone off of 2 or 4, they lead to long straightaways, and it kills that speed all the way down the straight. So if you can, you want to try to be patient and pass in those 2 corners versus the other 2.
And as we were watching Darrell Wallace Jr. try to recover from the start of the race, the 20 of Eric Jones has inched in on the 42 of Kyle Larson. You can see his car is handling maybe just a little bit better, a little bit more efficient through the corner, running a little bit lower, trying to time that run on the 42 car.
And this one quite a bit longer than the heat races. The heat races were only 20 laps. This one 60 laps. As we mentioned, the fuel window could get upwards to 35 laps, so you know that they'll have to come to pit road. The Dash for Cash drivers, Eric Jones currently running 3rd. Mike.
And Rick, you know, if you speak with his crew chief, Chris Gabehart, he'll tell you he reminds him a lot of a young Kyle Busch. And we've seen so many of those similarities already this weekend. They were differentiated by maybe a fraction of a second in qualifying. They both won their heat races. The one thing Kyle has here at Indianapolis that Eric doesn't, victories. Eric wants to put that to rest today as well. Car just a little bit snug right now to start this run. Dave?
Daniel Suarez hasn't been compared a lot to Kyle Busch yet, Mike, and that's one of the reasons why his crew chief Scott Graves told me the learning curve has been so steep for Daniel. He has these teammates, Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, but he's got to be better than them to win races. Right now, he just wants to get ahead of Eric Jones for that $100,000. He's about 3 seconds behind, Marty.
Dave, Justin Allgaier was just in Heat 2 a moment ago, and I asked him how the conditions were. He said absolutely brutal, way worse than I thought they would be. And when he goes down the front stretch and the back stretch, he tries to pop his hand out the window just a little bit. He told me I opened my visor, I did everything I could. Not much was working. It was so hot inside that race car, and that was his concern for this main feature, Mike.
Marty, back in 2012 in the inaugural Xfinity race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Elliott Sadler came agonizing close to winning that race. A controversial finish, and he ended up 3rd. He still thinks about that today and would love to put that behind him with a victory this afternoon. Right now in this run, saying, though, the car has way too much front grip in the center.
One thing these drivers have going for them, Rick, with the heat is it's only a 60-lap race today. The normal Xfinity length race is 100 laps. Well, we got 40 of those laps out of the way with the 2 heat races. So while that's good for the heat, that it's a shorter race, what it will also do is turn up the intensity, because with only 60 laps, this could, in theory, be a 1 pit stop race. These competitors have to be aggressive on the start, and when you catch a car, you have to pass them. You cannot ride behind them. You have to be aggressive and take advantage of the opportunities.
Limited number of opportunities that they will have to take advantage of, especially the Dash for Cash drivers, as we go NASCAR nonstop. Watch every Xfinity Series race with the NBC Sports app and get closer with additional camera angles, driver stats, and track information available on mobile, tablet, and connected TVs. Download the app and find out more at NBCSports.com/live. Out in front, it's Kyle Busch. He has a 2-second lead over Kyle Larson. And what are the rest of the field trying to figure out how they can get by Kyle Busch? Strategy coming into play a little bit for the 3 team. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
Really needs you to hustle hard right here, Ty. The only way short pit will work is if we're not far enough behind the leader to go a lap down, so you really got to hustle here for us.
And are they close enough is the question now, because Ty Dillon is 15.5 seconds behind race leader Kyle Busch.
Rick, I like the strategy, but that strategy option is gone 14 laps into the race. The simple math is this. A lap time in Indianapolis is around 53 seconds. On and off pit road with a pit stop, around 42 seconds. Math tells you you need to be within 11 seconds of the leader to have a chance not losing a lap. I think they're going to lose a lap, Dave.
Steve, he made a big swing, the team did, to the car between sessions. It was way too loose in the first run, the first heat that is, and between sessions they took a lot of adjustments that they could do, and now it's way too tight.
Out in front, the 18 of Kyle Busch. Looks like he's on cruise control. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
We noticed on the TV that we've got a little debris on the grill. I don't think it's anything that's bad. Yeah, we got pictures. We see it. It shouldn't be bad at all. I opened up tape a little between rounds, so I don't think it's going to push us past our target. We'll get it on the stop.
You should be fine on your temp as long as they're not climbing. If they're climbing, trying to swipe it on a lap, or other than that, it shouldn't be a worry.
You heard him say they see it on TV, so they're watching the broadcast, but also he said they had it on pictures. So every team has people around the racetrack that take pictures, digitally send those to the pit boxes so they can look at things during the race. So they're able to go back, look at those pictures, steal photos, really understand what's on the grill, how much is blocked off, and they're going to continue to listen to Kyle, what he's saying about the water temp. But out here by himself, he should not have a problem with that little bit blocking the radiator up.
Does the fact that it's 135 degrees track temperature increase the possibility of you overheating?
Well, the issue is everywhere you go there's a possibility of overheating because you don't build in this huge cushion for your temperatures. You want to run as absolute much grill tape as possible. So as we go right here to our NASCAR Heat Evolution animation, we're going to go in and show you how this cooling system works. So right here is the radiator and the ductwork. So the air comes through the nose of the race car and through the radiator. And this is designed when the air enters the nose, it just doesn't go through the radiator, Jeff, but it tries to get dispersed and use every bit of the radiator.
It's very important to have the radiator being used from top to bottom. So that curve in it uses it from top to bottom. Once you put a piece of debris on that grill, now there's less air going in, but also it disrupts the airflow, so you're not putting air throughout the entire radiator. So you have less air and you have disturbed air as well, and that's why it runs hot.
Remember, Rick, when these crew chiefs decide where to put tape on the grill, it's for a reason. It's just not on the grill anywhere you want it. Well, when debris flies on the grill, you don't get to place it specifically. So they saw that white piece of paper there. Luckily for the 18, it's a very small white piece of paper. You see it right there. It actually could be helping them as the leader with having a little extra downforce.
For more updates, we'll start with Kyle Larson and Dave Burns.
Rick, in his heat race, Kyle Larson had the fronts chattering just a little bit. You see a peak there from the 20 of Eric Jones, but so far holding that second position. That chatter and a little bit on the splitter was something he really wanted the team to fix, and they thought they could. They did, but the car is just a little bit free on exit right now. 2 seconds still behind the leader.
Dave, after practice yesterday, speaking with crew chief Brian Wilson of the 22 car, he was not all that optimistic. They were very loose in the first practice, very tight in the second practice. Then following the heat race, Joey Logano again saying that the main race would be a challenge. They are holding on now, right now inside the top 5. Joey saying he's on the splitter.
Of a second separating 2 and 3. Here comes Eric Jones looking to the inside, trying to take second away. Kyle Larson trying to hold him off, but Eric Jones with a run, and Jones will take second away.
That's what makes Eric Jones so impressive, is not only his pace, Jeff, but his patience. He rode behind Kyle Larson lap after lap, inching in closer, and showing that patience of trying to find a way to overtake, not just becoming frustrated.
So now can Eric Jones reel in Kyle Busch? There's 2.2 seconds that separate the two, but Jones seems awfully strong. How hard do you think Kyle Busch is pushing it out front right now?
Well, I think he's pushing it as hard as he feels he needs to, and that was to keep Kyle Larson behind him. Well, now I'm sure he's been told over the radio that, hey, make a note, behind you is no longer Kyle Larson, it's Eric Jones, and he shows a little more pace than what we saw out of Kyle Larson. As a matter of fact, on that last lap, he showed about 0.2 of a second more pace than our leader, Kyle Busch.
So Kyle Larson has dropped back to third. Joey Logano runs fourth. Daniel Suarez is fifth. Harvick, Allgaier, Sadler, Menard, and Poole are the top 10.
So we saw how difficult it was. It took so long for Eric Jones to get by Larson. This pass started in turn 1. You see the 42 did not get on the bottom in turn 1. So the 20 was able to get a run. Now the pressure's on. Now again, the 42 goes to turn, does not get the car all the way on the bottom. And I'm talking inches. He was off by maybe 6, 7, 8 inches. The 20 gets the run. So that is how you pass it into. You have to continually put pressure on somebody, force them into a mistake. It's what's so frustrating about this racetrack, why it's so difficult to pass, but you have to just stay on it. You have to be relentless and try to force that driver into a mistake. And it's not a big mistake, it's a matter of inches.
Well, I was going to say, Rick, since that's a mistake, that's why I was always a crew chief. Because that would look like every lap I drove. I would never be able to hit my mark that close.
Well, and it just took about a mile an hour faster for Eric Jones to get by Kyle Larson. Kyle Busch still out front. Tomorrow on NBCSN, Sprint Cup Series Racing from the Brickyard. Telecast presented by Golden Corral. That race coverage beginning at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Of course, Jeff Gordon returning to Sprint Cup Racing, stepping in for Dale Earnhardt Jr., five-time winner of the Brickyard 400. And it looks as though green flag pit stops have started, Mike.
Yeah, they have. And Joey Logano bringing his car down pit road now. Has been watching his temperatures very closely. They were 5 over what they had recommended going into this race, but the temperatures have come down now. The car had been getting a little bit tight in center. They're going to make a 4-tire change here and an air pressure adjustment to try to free them up a little bit, along with a full load of Sunoco race fuel.
And Rick, I love Brian Wilson's aggression right here. He doesn't need fuel. They've only run 23 laps, but with 37 laps to go, they can make it to the finish from here. Pit, get tires and fuel, come out in front of the leader. If the caution comes out, the leader's pit, guess what? 22 would be the leader.
I question if he's going to come out in front of the leader. This is going to be really close. Here comes the leader. He's going to have a run off turn 2. The 18 car is probably going to get in front of him.
But with new tires, I would expect the 22 to be able to either hold him off or get right back in front of him. Right here, Joe, you're going to have to block him, be aggressive, help your crew chief out.
That was as close as it gets right there. He's still going to make a move on the outside, but he has the preferred line.
And the fresher tires.
Fresher tires are going to prevail. Brian Wilson, the crew chief for Joey Logano, making that call. And that's just how close it is, trying to short pit. 6.4 seconds, which was the gap before the 22 of Joey Logano came onto pit road, and now we've got another on pit road, Dave.
Former Brickyard winner Ty Dillon is the man. A big adjustment track bar up 2 rounds on the 3 car as he gets Sunoco fuel and 4 Goodyear tires. That should help loosen the car up, Kelly.
Jeff Burton said he was sliding on entry to every corner and pushing bad off turn 4. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, an air pressure adjustment, and a track bar adjustment for the 98 of Jeff Burton.
See right here, Jeff Burton's leaving. The 19 of Daniel Suarez is still trying to make it into his pit stall. He has to let the 98 go, Dave, to get across.
Yep, just a little bit of a slowdown there, but now nicely into his large pit stall here at Indianapolis. He'll get an adjustment for a car that has been a little tight, not bad according to the driver, but Sunoco fuel and 4 Goodyear tires definitely appreciated to get to the end.
This really puts the pressure on the 18 of Kyle Busch and Chris Gale. Chris Gale has a lead on the racetrack, a little over a second, but is he going to allow all of these cars to short pit? Remember, every car that pits and comes out in front of the leader, Kyle Busch, would be a car they would have to pass if the caution comes out.
Still 19 cars on the lead lap, even though we're seeing some do the short pit strategy. Eric Jones also on pit road, Mike.
And he's had a very fast race car throughout the course of the afternoon, from time trials through his heat and now. The balance was neutral in the heat, but he said progressively during this main race, it's gotten a little bit tighter. 4 tires, fuel, and an air pressure adjustment, Dave.
Kyle Larson wanted his car to be a little bit better under control exiting the corner, so he'll get an air pressure adjustment for that, a full load of Sunoco fuel, and 4 Goodyear tires, Marty.
Dave, 4 Goodyear tires also for Kevin Harvick. He said it just lacked forward drive. They also made a track bar adjustment, trying to help him from the middle of the corner off. Also a full load of Sunoco fuel to hopefully make it to the end.
Elliott Sadler, 4 tire change. The car was just a little bit too snug that run. They try to freedom up with an air pressure adjustment, Kelly.
Ryan Reed said they is snappy loose on the exit of 1 and tight everywhere else. It was 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for the 16, Marty.
Bubba Wallace restarted 40th in the main feature here, came up through the field nicely. He said his car was just a 3 out of 10 tight, but you see that big wedge adjustment, trying to loosen it up with 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Dave.
Leader Kyle Busch is now on pit road. His car was just a little bit tight in traffic. He gets a wedge adjustment for that, but they really got the back hooked up. He was thankful for that, Marty.
Justin Allgaier pits from the 2nd position, but they ran towards the back end of the top 10 for much of this run. He said the car was loose and it just lacked rear grip, especially late towards the wall. You see him leaving pit road already with 4 fresh Goodyear tires and also a wedge adjustment.
Question will be, how close will it be between Eric Jones and Kyle Busch? There's Eric Jones, who was on pit road first. Kyle Busch trying to stay in front of him as he comes off the access road. Down the backstretch they go. A little fresher tires for Kyle Busch, and he will slide just in front of Eric Jones.
That's how close it's going to be. The 18 not only had a little bit slower stop, but came a lap after the 20 car. Eric Jones in that 20 trying to take advantage of that. But we've said this since the beginning of Kyle Busch's career. It's hard to find one better to get on and off pit road than Kyle Busch.
And I like the strategy of those guys. They have the fastest car. Don't stay on the racetrack and enable people to beat you off of their strategy. Trump their strategy, say, you know what? I'm not going to let you beat me with your strategy. I'm going to match you with the fastest car. I like that.
But the big question I have is, before this pit cycle even started, Eric Jones had taken 1 second off Kyle Busch's lead. I really believe he has a better race car. So we're going to see now that he can see Kyle Busch out the front windshield a little bit closer. Will that be enough?
Look at all this traffic. They're going to follow into turn 2. Yeah, this is really going to. Yeah, this is going to help Kyle a great deal. Look at 3 wide in front of him. It's going to kill Eric's lap time.
Yeah, Eric,
watch the separation that gets created here.
In the 20, we'll have to deal with all of this traffic now.
And he had to go on the outside of that lap car, and that slowed him down tremendously in turn 3. Huge deficit. Look at the difference.
So frustrating for Eric Jones. You know, he was just making time, and now here he is stuck behind 3 other cars. He's going to lose over a second, I think, on this one lap only.
The gap, about 1.8 seconds between Kyle Busch and Eric Jones when they cross the start-finish line. Kelly.
After leading a lap, Brendan Gaughan brings the 62 to pit road. He was looking for more front turn in his car. It's going to be 4 tires, fuel, a track bar adjustment, and an air pressure adjustment to help Brendan out.
Yeah, so this battle right here, you think, why don't they get out of the way? I mean, that's the leaders, but those cars are racing for the lucky dog position. That's the free pass, so they can't just lay over. They're racing each other for position, so this is a tough spot for them to be in, too. They don't want to be in the way of the guy running second, but you can't just pull over and give away the opportunity to get your lap back.
And even though this race is now closing in on halfway, it's halfway to 60, not 100. And from here, all these drivers can make it on fuel. So Eric Jones really needs to believe if this race runs green, he's going to have to run Kyle Busch down on the racetrack. Although you saw right there, veteran move by J.J. Yaley in the 44. He followed the 20 through, past Ryan Sieg for the free pass position.
Eric Jones has been able to get by the lap traffic. Now he sets his sights once again on Kyle Busch. Can he get by him? We go NASCAR nonstop. Aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods from high atop Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now let's go down to the Toyota Camry on-track car.
Yeah, we talked about the heat today. Well, I think a lot of people think that because you have these window nets and no windows on the left side, there's a lot of air coming in. Well, there's not. So NASCAR mandates this left side NACA duct that puts air into the race car every single week.
Yeah, but that just dumps fresh air really into the whole car, not specifically to the driver. And look right here, 126 degrees earlier in Ryan Reed's car. So we see on this right rear quarter panel, especially for this race, NASCAR's required the drivers or the teams to not only add that NACA duct, but add the black hose pointing all the way to the driver.
You can see that hose runs through the car, points to the driver, picks it up in the right rear NACA duct. There's a lot of air that comes off that right rear quarter window. So that's probably the most effective NACA duct to put air in the car. And again, they direct it directly toward the driver.
Do a Toyota driver update. Out front, 2 Toyotas, Kyle Busch and Eric Jones, and Daniel Suarez running also in the top 5 in the 4th position. Eric Jones currently leading in the Dash for Cash race. Suarez running 2nd. Allgaier and Sadler all eligible for that Dash for Cash $100,000 bonus.
You know what's impressive with what Kyle Busch is doing right now. He has Jeb Burton in front of him running 15th. This is a big racetrack, and Jeb's the last car on the lead lap. So that shows you the dominance of the Gibbs cars. I mean, he's that much faster than a 15th place car. Hard to imagine being that much faster.
And there hasn't been a caution. So we had green flag pit stops that played into that. Some that didn't have maybe as good of a pit stop as Kyle Busch did. They're losing more spots on the racetrack because of being on pit road for a longer period of time.
The other thing these drivers are going to try to do is with 25 laps to go, they're going to extend the run on this last set of Goodyear tires. They came right inside their fuel window, which means, you know, the heat race, we only saw 20 laps at a time. That first set of tires the crew chiefs got to see only had about 24 to 25 laps on them. This last set of Goodyear tires are going to have to go anywhere from 34 to 37 laps depending on the car. So if you are Kyle Busch and you do have that 2.5-second lead, perhaps save a little bit of tire. Just back down 5% and make sure your tires are good all the way to the finish.
And you also pitted just a little earlier than you probably wanted to. So, you know, saving tires also saves a little bit of fuel just to give yourself a little bit of assurance, because you may get a green-white checker. You may get a situation where you can't pit. If the caution comes out late, you know if you pit, everybody else is going to stay out. You know, sometimes it's a disadvantage being the leader. In a place like this where everybody knows you have them beaten, well, maybe if you pit, everybody stays out, or maybe you have to, you have to stay out so you run short on fuel. So right now with the lead, try to save a little fuel.
As we focus on the front of the 18 of Kyle Busch, that splitter sealed right to the racetrack, helping him slide right through the air here at Indianapolis. We're going to go through the field. We'll start with Dave Burns.
And Rick, with such a good race car, the only real concern that crew chief Chris Gale had when I talked to him yesterday was tire wear. They had a little bit of excessive tire wear in practice, and in fact they told Kyle after your heat race there was a lot of wear on those tires, but the set that just came off, really good, and they told the driver.
Well, Dave, unfortunately for his teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing, Eric Jones, tire wear may be a concern. They just took off that set, making a 4-tire change, and on the right front, there was a pretty sizable bubble. They're going to be paying very close attention to tires over the course of this run, Dave.
And if there's a late race restart and Daniel Suarez does really well, you can thank Ron Hornaday, 4-time Truck Series champion and very good at that. Sorry, we'll talk about Daniel Suarez first, and then to Kyle Larson. But the king of restarts, Ron Hornaday, helped Daniel Suarez learn that craft just a little bit better, and if we get a late one, he may in fact be fantastic at it. As for Kyle Larson, his car has changed just a little bit to the free side. He would like an adjustment when they come down for their stop. Mike?
Well, if Joey Logano goes to victory lane today, it may be some karma. He has a team member on this 22 car that has a history here in Indianapolis. The front-end mechanic, Bill Spencer, actually was the car chief for 1999 Indy 500 champ Kenny Brack. It goes further than that. Spencer's uncle, Steve, was actually part of the 1966 Indy 500 winning team as well. He'd like to add another piece of Indianapolis history to his own resume. Marty?
Mike Kevin Harvick back there in the 6th position. He said the car seems to be rolling over on the right front on this run so far. He said it's definitely worse. We didn't make many gains on it. Talking to Dave Ellens, the crew chief, he said, I feel like we came out of the box this year gaining on Joe Gibbs Racing. I feel like that momentum is stalled. We need to get something going in our corner and gain a little bit of speed. For Justin Allgaier, also a JR Motorsports teammate, behind him in the 7th position. He said it's tight and getting a little bit worse the longer they run. But he told me, you know what, Dale Earnhardt Jr. not feeling well. We're a family organization at Junior Motorsports. We want to win for the boss man. They would love to get it in victory lane this afternoon for Dale Earnhardt Jr. if they can, Mike.
Elliott Sadler also in that junior motorsports camp, Marty, feels exactly the same way. He told me that many of the team members on his team are not only workers for Dale Earnhardt Jr., but close personal friends. Would love to deliver a victory here today. The car needs to be better, though, a little bit tight. Marty?
Speaking of family, Paul Menard, this place means so much to his race family. Of course, his dad, John, sponsored many Indy cars over the years. And in fact, when the Xfinity Series schedule comes out at the beginning of the year, this is the first race Paul picks. He loves running here at Indianapolis. On that first run, he said the car was too tight in the center. They fixed that, Danny Stockman thinks. Now it's a little bit too loose off. Kelly?
Brendan Poole has finished in the top 10 in 7 of the last 10 races, and he's excited about that consistency. He said, look, the more we run up front, start clicking off some top 5s, even we'll put ourselves in position to win a race. He's really excited about the direction the team is headed. He's also excited about racing here at Indy. After that heat race, he told me it's pretty awesome, Dave.
And Kelly, Ty Dillon feels the same way about the direction of the RCR program. Today is just not going to be the day. He hasn't been able to move forward into the top 10, except he's getting closer to it, and that last adjustment didn't help the car a whole lot. Just making laps right now, Mike.
19-year-old Brandon Jones, it has been a pretty steep learning curve here today. His first time at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and with that, he's had to lean on his teammates. Paul Menard in particular, a guy who has won here in the past, gave him some pointers as to lift points, the line through the corner, and his apex. He feels like it has worked, but the car is not there for him right now. Way too tight, Kelly.
When I asked Ryan Reed what he learned after that 20-lap heat race, he said, well, I learned that we were really loose, like out of control loose. Now he's snappy, loose, tight, off exit of 1, tight everywhere else. The other thing, he said, I learned that this gets strung out. You got to get the job done on restarts. Unfortunately for him, Rick, there haven't been any.
Yeah, no restarts, just the initial start of this race.
In the wall, off of 2.
And you see the right rear tagged the wall, and so he's going to have to bring it to pit road.
That's some major damage right there on that right rear quarter panel and that right rear spoiler. That's a very sensitive area. That's how they make most of the side force and down force on these cars. You see right here, just high out of the groove, Rick. Car comes around, pretty heavy contact on that sheet metal.
Welcome Daniel Suarez now to the top Dash for Cash position. Suarez running third behind Kyle Larson. Suarez a great opportunity to make an extra $100,000. Mike.
And Eric Jones bringing the car to the attention of his crew over the wall. They'll go to work on the right side there. They'll take a look at the sheet metal also where he may have touched the wall, seeing if they can make any repairs there, pulling it away from the fender. 2-tire change, and he's slowly away.
They came to pit road pretty quickly. They're in the position that they were in, running second. But because they did, that puts Daniel Suarez in the top position for Dash for Cash as we go NASCAR nonstop. You're watching the NASCAR Xfinity Series Lilly Diabetes 250 from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Next Saturday night on NBCSN, it's Xfinity Series racing from Iowa Speedway. Coverage will begin at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Chris Buescher picked up the win at Newton, Iowa last year. Kevin Harvick in the 88, currently running in the top 5 in the 5th position. With more on Eric Jones after just coming to pit road, let's go to Mike.
And Rick, we saw him get out of shape and make some contact with the outside wall. A little bit of right rear damage, and with that, it pushed the fender in on the tire. That's why they came down pit road. You can see where the tire rub was on the right rear. A precautionary measure to make sure it did not get worse. They hit pit road and lost quite a bit of track position in the process.
Really, the only thing he's got going for him is the possibility of a caution. If a caution comes out, he's got a chance. Otherwise, he's 46 seconds behind Kyle Busch right now.
And as odd as this may sound, if the caution comes out, he has a really good chance. Because those tires, those fresh tires for Eric Jones, he is currently circulating the track around a half a second to 0.7 of a second faster than Kyle Busch. It's going to be very difficult with 13 to go for Kyle Busch to convince himself to come in from the lead and take fresh tires if we get a yellow. Where the 20 of Eric Jones, I'm sure he's going to feel good enough to stay on the racetrack. So a little misfortune could turn into good fortune with the correct yellow.
And we continue to say if the caution comes out. Well, if it doesn't, Kyle Busch could maybe join Jeff Burton as the last driver to win a caution-free race. Whoa, and around goes the 20. As quickly as we say that, the caution will come out.
I saw it spark, Rick. I wonder if that damage didn't finally cut down the right rear tire as quick as that spun around.
And how did he not hit the wall?
Unbelievable.
I mean, he lost a tire getting into the corner in Indianapolis and then didn't hit anything. That's amazing.
They run interliners, but still.
Nothing to gain. We are a lap down.
Nothing to gain.
An incredible save by Eric Jones.
See him getting into turn 1. He's running almost 200 miles per hour.
Right there, big spark.
Big spark right there. Obviously, the tire is down. I mean, he blew a right front as he turned into turn 1 in Indy. I'm sorry, right rear. Thank you. And what an amazing job. He's wide open in the throttle right here. Just he's in the gas as hard as he can be, and that drove the car off the wall. That's a great job.
That's amazing. Look at how sideways that car is, and he's, as you mentioned, so hard on the gas to keep it away from the wall.
And look at the wheels turned to the right, but the second it started back, he got him turned back left. Had he not, that thing could have hung a right and gotten back into the wall. So what a great job, and it surprises you too. I mean, it's not you going there expecting this to happen. So what a remarkable job of driving.
That is unbelievable.
9 degrees of banking.
Watch the tires. Watch the tires. Watch the left front tire. Now you can see the right front tire. Takes a little wheel out of it. He puts it back in it and just spins it out.
Pits are closed, so they're not allowed to come onto pit road yet. The 20, however, it won't hurt the 20 because of it being a lap down already.
Rick, this is a tough position for a crew chief. Kyle Busch has had the dominant car. Kyle Larson hasn't shown the speed to keep up with him. So you tell yourself, well, there's only 10 cars in the lead lap. It's a no-brainer. Kyle Busch pit. But this isn't a wide racetrack like Richmond or Charlotte or California where there's 4 or 5 places for a car to go. There's one lane through these corners. So if Kyle Busch pits and 5 cars come out or don't pit and he has to start behind them, that could cost Kyle Busch the race. We will restart with less than 10 laps to go.
And if Kyle Busch pits, people are going to stay out. I mean, the order should be do whatever the leader doesn't do. If he doesn't pit, you stay out. I mean, you have to put yourself in a position to win this race. You're not going to outrun him. Right. You have to out-strategy him. So the tough spot here, just like Steve said, being a leader sometimes is a big disadvantage, and this is one of those cases.
Let's find out what the 42 is thinking strategy-wise. Here's what they had to say on the radio.
Here's the thing. We can't beat, I don't feel we have a good enough car to beat the 18, so let's just pit. 4 tires.
I liked what he said until he said pit.
Yeah.
I think what he should have said is, so just do what the 18 doesn't.
Yes.
So if the 18 pits, I want you to stay out. You know what? If no one stays out with you, you're going to run 10th. But maybe you can drag the whole field. Maybe everyone is sick of running behind Kyle Busch, and the whole field will stay out with you. So I agree with the assessment, disagree with the strategy. You should do whatever Kyle Busch does not do.
And if I'm driving that car in the 18 pits, I stay out.
We're about
to find out. There's times where you can just ignore your crew chief and you see something happening and he can't. I would just stay out and make the call myself.
I'm looking at the rundown. Justin Allgaier, remember, Daniel Suarez, Elliott Sadler, they're in for the dash for cash. There's a second race within
They got to commit.
So
They got to commit.
He's not going to pit. So you should pit now. Pit. Everybody behind you.
Unbelievable how far back they went before Kyle Larson decides he's going to come.
And Daniel Suarez stayed on the race
out.
as well. That's going to really affect this dash for cash run.
So what's so difficult about that spot, if you're running far enough back and you see other people pitting, then when you want to stay out, because that puts you in front of all those guys that pit. So these are difficult decisions.
Marty.
A lot of these guys made the same exact call you guys did, do the opposite of whatever the 18 does. Kevin Harvick said his car was loose in, loose off. He wanted 4 tires for sure, and a big air pressure adjustment as well, trying to tighten up this 88 car, Mike.
Marty, Brian Wilson, the crew chief for Joey Logano, contemplating keeping Joey on the racetrack and not pitting. They changed that plan. They've come down, made a wedge adjustment and a 4-tire change.
Mike, I think Mike Shiplet thought all the time he was going to do the opposite of what the 18 would do, so the 42 did pit, 4 tires, slight air pressure adjustment for a tight race car.
It looked as though everybody but Suarez, who's on the lead lap, came to pit road. So
Yeah,
Suarez stayed out, Kyle Busch stayed out.
It looked like the 48 might have took right side tires, gained a little track position.
Tomorrow on NBCSN, Sprint Cup Series Racing from the Brickyard. That telecast presented by Golden Corral. Race coverage beginning at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Jeff Gordon substituting for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Okay, so a lot of strategy. Steve and I are here arguing and talking about it, but I think we've come to the same conclusion. So Kyle Busch and Suarez, they're both on no tires. Kyle Larson.
No new tires.
No new tires. Kyle Larson, he's on 4. Poole in 4th, he's on 2. So if I'm Kyle Busch, I'm picking the outside.
Absolutely.
I'm picking the outside.
You guys said you argued.
I said we came to a conclusion.
Okay.
I put Suarez on the inside with no tires, and that's going to line up Larson behind him. I try to slow up the 4 tires all I can. I have to beat Suarez to turn 1 to make this work. But you cannot let the guy with 4 tires start in 3rd behind you. Right. You have to put him in a position where he has a potential of getting slowed down.
And I'll be honest, Rick. Kyle Larson's my new favorite, or Kevin Harvick on 4 tires. I think Kyle Busch has had a dominant car. I like the aggressive pit call, but I really believe those 4 fresh tires are going to make a big difference. If you go back and look at lap times when these guys pitted under green, they picked up over a second on new tires. So I think it all comes down to, and I know this is a cliche, right? It all comes down to turn 1 and 2. The 42 of Kyle Larson has got to find a way to get in front of whoever's on old tires and get a clean exit off turn 2. If he can do that, he can win this race.
And I tell you what else it comes down to, who can leave. So these cars now on the front row, they're leaving on old tires. So are they going to be spinning their tires? Are they going to have trouble getting going? If they have trouble getting going, that's going to be an issue too. Kyle Busch needs to have a typical Kyle Busch restart and clear Suarez before he ever gets to turn 1. That's going to be the challenge. Now I'm watching Kyle Busch. He took the bottom. That's going to line Kyle Larson up with 4 tires directly behind him.
You know, we've seen this before, Rick. In 2014, Kyle Busch dominated that race. Late caution, late pit stops. Ty Dillon gets tires. Ty Dillon wins the race. This is not a new. Now, I'm not questioning the crew chief. I understand the position Chris Gale was in because he could just easily be starting 10th. But this is back in 2014. Kyle Busch has been dominating this race. This is a late restart. Now, Ty Dillon is on the front row. That's different. But look how much better the new tires are. He easily clears Kyle Busch, and he's gone.
And Kyle Busch picked the outside on that restart, so that may be in Kyle Busch's mind about he doesn't want to restart on the outside. But I'm just really nervous having 4 tires starting behind me. That just makes me really afraid getting into turn 1 because I think Larson's going to restart better. He's going to have more rear grip leaving, and he's going to have more grip getting into turn 1. I would have chosen the outside, but I think Kyle Busch will won a few races.
Hey, and how about the race within a race? We keep talking about Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. Let's talk about the dash for cash.
Yes.
We have Daniel Suarez running in position 2 on old tires. We have Justin Allgaier in position 6 with 4 tires. You look, last pit, who's on 18 old tires, 19 old tires. Everyone behind them has at least 2 tires, with most having 4. Justin Allgaier might be sitting in the catbird seat to win $100,000.
And remember, how did Kyle Busch get in this situation with the fastest car now with no tires? Because it's the impossible call. The people behind you are going to do whatever you don't do. So that crew chief, he did nothing wrong. They were going to stack up against you anyway. So we're getting ready to find out how it turns out.
Pit strategy is not an absolute, Rick. Pit strategy only matters compared to your competitors. And here we go. Maybe the final restart of the race.
7 laps to go. It has been a dash, this 60-lap race. We'll see who ends up with the cash and who ends up winning. And if they're the same, into the restart zone they go. Green flag back in the air. Suarez not accelerating as quickly as Kyle Busch was able to. And Kyle Larson is going to clear Suarez. Suarez way up high. He could lose the dash for cash lead right here on the first lap of restart. Oh, a little contact there. Suarez way up the racetrack now.
And that's the start that Kyle Busch didn't want to see. Look how quickly Kyle Larson and Kevin Harvick got clear of traffic. They're just on the leader's bumper with still 7 laps to go.
How good of a car does Kyle Busch have? We're about to find out if Kyle Larson can get by. Kyle Busch, 25 laps more on the tires than Kyle Larson.
We've heard all day long how much faster Kyle Busch is. The competitors have talked about how much faster he is. If he can pull this off with old tires, this will be heartbreaking to the competition.
He's still out front with only 6 laps to go. Elliott Sadler has been able to get by Justin Allgaier. Sadler now in the position for dash for cash.
2 great races, Rick. We have a race for the lead and a race for the $100,000 bonus.
Elliott Sadler up to 5th. Kyle Busch still out front. Has a pretty good gap over Kyle Larson. Even on the pressure tires, and around goes the 07. He had the 13 into the wall. Caution will come out again. Ray Black Jr. in the 07 and the 13 of Harrison Rhodes.
Come on, buddy.
A lot of damage to the front of that car.
And that was definitely a heavy impact.
Ray Black Jr. stopped in the 07. Harrison Rhodes in the 13. See him moving. Trying to figure out what to do now. The window net's going to come down. Let's take a look again at what just happened. This coming out of turn 2.
All started on the entrance to turn 2. Contact right there.
Ray Black Jr. hit the 4.
Yeah, now he's just long for the ride. 13 comes in and T-bones him.
Right in the driver's door. That's never an area you want to see another car get hit. NASCAR's done a lot of work in that area over the years. They've added some steel plate to try to prevent intrusions into the cockpit, some energy absorbent foam, a lot of safety additions to this car.
You can tell how hard of a hit. Lifted the 07 right up off the ground.
And that interior wall has a safer barrier on it. So although it wasn't a heavy contact in the interior wall, it still has a safer barrier.
And that proves
much less.
Well, you have to have safer barrier anywhere, because I'm not sure anyone would think that a car could get to that wall, but we've seen it in racing. You cannot predict how these cars will crash.
So there wasn't overtime available in the first 2 heats, but overtime is available in this main event as they continue to do the cleanup. There's less than 5 laps to go, and it's still under caution. They will assess the damage and the cleanup time to determine if they want to red flag this and stop it before they run out of laps.
And I'm telling you, Rick, this is a whole new complexion. Kyle Busch was impressing me, running some great lap times, holding off Kyle Larson and Kevin Harvick. But now he's going to have to restart again, and now those fresher tires will line up right next to and right behind Kyle Busch. Kevin Harvick's known for decent restarts. He knows how to try to roll up on that leader, get a run into turn 1, so Kyle's going to have to get a great restart. Plus, remember, Kyle Busch pitted at lap 27.
Yeah.
We think he has enough fuel, and he should have enough fuel, but the longer this race goes and potential overtime, maybe multiple overtimes, fuel could even become an issue.
Yeah, but the 2 cautions obviously are going to help him with fuel mileage, so
yes.
they should be able to get to the end.
Just though, for the record, I've run out of gas when I could have been okay. So
Not.
That's right.
Let's listen into the 48 radio.
Well, the 19 just hooked me in the right rear. He was top of 3 of panic catching the right rear, right as you were clearing him. Nothing you can do about that. Man, come on. Just if you're in a bad position, get out of it. Don't wreck everybody.
Take another look at what took place on the restart.
You see here Daniel Suarez at the top 3 wide, Jeff. He doesn't have a whole lot of room getting into turn 2.
Yeah, they are 3 wide, and it's a fight for position at this point. He's trying to get in. I don't think he meant to hit him. I thought he had a hole behind him. He was trying to get in behind him. Obviously, didn't help him to hit him. So it's just a little bit of a misjudgment. But again, you're 3 wide getting into turn 2. You know you can't be 3 wide. He was looking in his mirror. He saw a hole, turned left, got into the side of the 48.
How does it always work, Rick? We get a dash for cash. We're going to qualify 4 Xfinity regulars for this opportunity. Sadler, Allgaier, Suarez, and Eric Jones. Well, Eric Jones has had a little trouble. Daniel Suarez has run up front most of the day. His pet strategy hasn't worked out. But 2 Junior Motorsports teammates, Mike, both with fresh tires, are going to line up right next to each other for $100,000.
And you know, Steve, they both want to deliver that victory considering where their boss man is right now, watching, I'm sure, thinking of them as they turn laps here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The 1 car of Elliott Sadler has been tight much of the day. They took a pretty big swing at it recently with a track bar adjustment, 4 tires and fuel, trying to free him up a little bit, but he still has been saying it's been snapping a little bit loose in traffic, but tight otherwise. That car's going to need a little bit better balance down the long run here to hold everybody off. Marty?
And Mike, we just watched that replay of the 48 and the 19 getting together. Justin Allgaier came on the radio immediately after this caution, said, man, that did not help us. He gave up his spot to his teammate, Elliott Sadler, right when that was going on. He was right behind that accident, so they're going to be very aggressive on this restart. Jason Burdett told him, listen, what you did on the last restart was perfect. Do it again, we can win $100,000. Dave?
Daniel Suarez did a fantastic job of saving his race car at high speed in these flat corners on the restart, but he fell back to 10th, and he felt like the left side of the splitter was a little bit into the track. So they decided to come down pit road, give him 4 fresh tires filled up with fuel, and see how much ground Daniel could make up at the end.
So when Eric Jones had his issues, that puts Justin Allgaier up into the position that was racing Suarez. Here's Allgaier and the 1 of Elliott Sadler fighting for that spot.
And Elliott Sadler, he's seen him 3 wide. He sees opportunity right now. So, you know, did a great job of staying low, taking advantage of the opportunity. Anytime you see somebody 3 wide at Indy, you know you're going to have an opportunity because they can't get funneled away from each other quick enough. They're going to at least be 2 wide in turn 2, and now you're going to have a huge run down the back straightaway. So his eyes got really big, saw opportunity.
And Rick, this is just what we talked about at the top of the show. It doesn't matter how fast of a car you have, you still have to race. And we've seen Kyle Busch execute flawlessly so far, but his teammates, the 19 of Suarez, the 20 of Eric Jones, have both had issues. Can Kyle Busch complete the day? He's run 57 amazing laps, but he's got 3 more to complete for the win.
And because of these laps continuing to wind down, the potential is there for overtime. But let's see if we can chat with Elliott Sadler, guy who is right now currently in the position to win the $100,000 dash for cash. Elliott Sadler in front of Justin Allgaier. Let's dial him up.
Hey, Elliott, Chef in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
talking at the same time?
No, that was Bert.
Hey, Elliot, it's Burton in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, looks like you're going to line up side by side with your teammate for this $100,000. What's the strategy?
You know, just try to go hard on this restart, man. I mean, track position is everything. You know, we're very fortunate to be on the inside line, but Justin and I are going to be racing each other pretty hard here. Just proud to be in this position, thanks to everybody at Junior Motorsports and definitely everybody at One Main. We have a lot of people here today with that supporting that company. So, man, we're going to go after it, man. Really would be nice to win this Dash for Cash Xfinity is giving us today.
So what did you think when you saw him 3 wide in front of you getting into turn 2 on that last restart?
I was kind of happy to see it in that it was not me. 3 wide in Indy is not fun if you're a part of it, but if you're behind it and can kind of get a toe off of it, it's to your advantage. So that's why it's very important to get a good restart in the restart zone and make sure you're not putting in the middle here 3 wide and then see what happens with this green-white checker.
Well, Elliot, thank you for taking time. The fans really appreciate it. Good luck.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day up there.
All right, they are going to let them know 1 to go before we get the green when they get back to the line, which means I believe we're going to be advancing on overtime. So by the time we get back around for the green, we will be expected to go over distance. The race was scheduled to go 60 laps. It'll end up being 61 once we get the restart and then the white flag lap.
Let me explain to you why it's so difficult for Kyle Larson to beat Kyle Busch on this restart. When Kyle Busch starts this race, he has the prerogative. When he gets to the restart zone, he has the decision to go when he wants to go. That means that Larson has to react to what Kyle Busch does. So that immediately is advantage Kyle Busch. If Kyle Busch can keep from spinning his rear tires, he will use that advantage. We see him. He's one of the very best in the business. Now, behind him will be Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick has a little bit easier time than Larson does because Harvick can lay back a little bit and watch when the 18 starts to get a run. When the 18 starts to get a run, then you try to judge and get a little momentum going. So it's way more difficult actually on the outside or the inside of the leader because he sets the pace. Kevin Harvick can anticipate a little bit easier than Larson. Larson can't go by rule. Right. He can't go sooner than Kyle Busch, and that's why it's so difficult. All
right, Jeff, let's expound on that. Let's show you the restart zone, where it is on the front stretch, and what you had just mentioned. Kyle Busch, as the leader, as the control car, gets to start inside of that zone. He's the one who determines who starts first as we look at this. So do you go right when you get to the double red line, or do you wait all the way until you get to the single red line?
You do whatever you didn't just do. You give him something different. You have to change it up. Or if you think, you know what, he's not thinking I'm going to do it the same way, then you do it the same way. But remember, he can start anytime in that zone, and that's his choice. Watch Kevin Harvick. On this restart, pay attention to the 88 car and how he reacts to this. I think he'll try to lay back just a little bit and try to get a little bit of a run and anticipate this. If he can enter turn 1 on the 18's bumper, he'll have a shot to win this race.
The other line that's very important is now superimposed on the track, the overtime line. And what that is once they take the green flag and they work their way through 1 and 2, if the leader of the race reaches this overtime line before a caution comes out, the race will then finish under whatever the next flag is. And we're hearing that they're going to add another lap. We're going to take a quick break, be right back for the finish here in Indy. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As the final laps of the Lilly Diabetes 250 in front of us, we are in overtime. That means that they have gone past the prescribed distance, which was 60 laps. We're already 60 laps complete. This is the first overtime here at this racetrack in the Xfinity Series. Again, once the restart happens, if the race leader gets to the overtime line under green flag conditions, the race will be considered, and that restart will be considered official, and we will end under whatever flag comes out next, whether it be the yellow flag or the checkered flag. 07 and the 13 were both released from the infield care center. Pace car off the racetrack. Kyle Busch on the inside. Kyle Larson on the outside as they enter the restart zone. We're back to racing at Indy. Already looking to the inside. The 88 of Kevin Harvick's not going to be able to make the move on Kyle Busch as they go into one. Harvick with a good run. He's inside Kyle Larson. Now Larson able to surge in front as they go through two and down the backstretch.
And that side-by-side racing is exactly what Kyle Busch wants to do. As you see, the rest of the field span out. But there you go. Kevin Harvick gets a good run down the bottom. He should clear Kyle Larson here, but he still has a lap and a half to go. Can he catch the 18 of Kyle Busch?
We're in overtime, sponsored by Credit One, and they made it to the overtime line. It is official. Kyle Busch, is he going to be able to hold off as they go three wide through 3 and 4? Will Kyle Busch be able to hold off the hard-charging Kevin Harvick behind him? White flag in the air one more time around.
You see right there, Justin Allgaier inside Elliott Sadler for the $100,000, Rick.
Dash for cash. Allgaier takes the spot away from Elliott Sadler. Through the short chute, into two, and down the backstretch they go. Allgaier in front of Elliott Sadler for Dash for Cash, that $100,000 bonus. Out in front of the field, it's still Kyle Busch. He's got a half a second lead over Kevin Harvick as they go into turn number 3. One last opportunity for Kevin Harvick to steal this win away from a dominant Kyle Busch. A year ago, Kyle Busch swept the Xfinity Series and Sprint Cup Series races from Indianapolis. Can he do it again this weekend? Kyle Busch will win at Indianapolis.
Good job, guys. Thanks. What a day. Let's go.
Even on the older tires, Kyle Busch holds off Kevin Harvick. And how about the run by Justin Allgaier? Allgaier will win a $100,000 bonus in the Dash for Cash.
I really, really wanted to win today. But that was second on the list, and by God, we pulled it off.
That's pretty good to be second on the list.
That's $100,000 second. That makes it okay, right? Listen, I said it before all this started. What a great day for Justin Allgaier. You know, they are not right now able to run with Kyle Busch and the Joe Gibbs cars, but they won what they needed to do. And also this helps them moving forward into the chase, a good solid finish. But for the rest of the field, Kyle Busch just beat you on old tires. I mean, this has to be demoralizing. We've heard it all day, how much better he is, but everybody was in position with tires to take it away from them, and they still couldn't get it done.
Mike Massaro.
We're catching up with his crew chief now, Chris Gale. Watching that restart, what were your thoughts?
Well, that's a tough situation to be in. Whether the caution came out with 11, 12 to go there, and you're sitting there and you know guys are going to play the opposite strategy. The only thing you can do is stay out. You know, even if everybody had come behind us, if we had stayed, they were all going to come back in front of us and stay, and we would pitted. There's no way to come back up through the field. So I'll take Kyle Busch with old tires, restart any day of the week. So I'm confident who he did. He did a great job. It's a Brickyard.
And you can understand that confidence. Kyle Busch getting it done again here in Indianapolis, Rick.
Kyle Busch, I mean, I don't know if we can use enough adjectives to explain how great Kyle Busch is. Kyle Busch has run, this is his 11th race of the season in the Xfinity Series. Kyle Busch's average finish coming into this race, average finish now of the 11 races is under 1.6, his average finish.
What else can you say?
He is
Steve and I look at each other with amazement.
7 wins in the 11 starts. The driver has never swept both poles and races in a weekend. Kyle Busch has already started that. He swept both poles, and now he's won the Xfinity Series race, and he's looking very strong for the Cup race, the Brickyard 400 tomorrow.
And Rick, we heard from Chris Gale, the crew chief of this 18 car. Kyle Busch drove to victory lane, and you heard in his interview, he absolutely knew the situation, absolutely knew what would happen if he stayed out. That's a lot of poise from a younger crew chief. That's the type of guy we're going to see calling races on Sunday. There's a reason he's here at Joe Gibbs Racing, getting some reps on Saturday, because not only does he set up fast race cars, but he does a great job with his strategy during the race.
That's a beautiful shot right there. The smoke from the burnout now just somewhat drifting away, but the celebration underway for Kyle Busch. He wins again at Indianapolis. We'll hear from him when we return. Kyle Busch acknowledging the crowd on hand today at Indianapolis. His celebration always ends with a bow to the fans. So many times he has grabbed the checkered flag at the end of an Xfinity race. This one, the 83rd win in his career in Xfinity Series racing. Kevin Harvick didn't have anything for him at the end, even on fresher tires. Paul Menard finishes third, Kyle Larson fourth. Justin Allgaier, the big winner today as far as Dash for Cash, finishes fifth but wins $100,000. Jeff Burton, the last one on the lead lap, a little bit further through the field. Brandon Godovic finishing 27th. Ray Black Jr., Harrison Rhodes involved in an incident late in the race. Take a look at the chase grid. Still three drivers with wins. Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, Elliott Sadler. Ty Dillon increasing the points as far as above the cutoff line of 12th in the point standings for the chase. 12 drivers will have an opportunity at the championship at season's end. Let's go to Dave.
Kyle Busch in victory lane. His hot race car has made it here. The hot driver getting out and getting showered with, thankfully, ice cold water. Man, that feels good all around. May not be good for the camera equipment, but Kyle Busch, you could say the hot driver in terms of his streak here at Indy now. Third win twice in a row. And KB, you were at a disadvantage on that restart. How big with the old tires?
Well, the new tires for those guys was good for them, but not so good for us having old tires, obviously. But I just dug in deep and gave it everything I had, and knew I had to get really good restarts in there. That the second to last one, I got a really good one, and then the last one was okay. I got an okay one, and then I saw Harvick pull out, and he must have been obviously blocking the guys behind him who had a run, because he never got alongside of me. I never felt him close enough that he was going to pull alongside, but this NOS Energy Drink Camry was awesome today. It was really, really fast, so Chris Gale and all these guys. They deserve this win here at the Brickyard. It's a pretty awesome feeling to be able to go back to victory lane here again this year, and hopefully with sitting on the pole for tomorrow, we can have another sweep here with that Skittles Camry.
No one has ever done it. Pole in both races and then the win in both races. How big are your chances tomorrow?
I think they're pretty good, you know, and of course starting up front, that means a lot here at Indy, but man, it's a long race. It's a long 400 miles, and you know, we'll just have to see how it goes. But our Toyota today was strong. I think our Toyota tomorrow will be even stronger, and I can't say enough about JGR Engines, TRD. The XFINITY, we appreciate them and their support, of course, and the fans as well, too. And DBX brand sunglasses, those guys are great for me as well. So I'm getting those here in a minute. I'm waiting on those to come up.
A lot of strength in this team, a lot of strength in that driver. They're in victory lane again here in Indy. Mike?
And Kyle certainly had to earn that victory. He was pushed hard in the closing laps by Kevin Harvick. What were those closing laps like for you?
Well, the first corner didn't go exactly how I wanted it to. Elliott was really pushing me, and I probably should have just went 3 wide. I didn't want to be all the way on the bottom, you know, and have a bad angle at the corner, because I really thought I could beat him down the backstretch if I got off of 2 well and could clear the 42. So right as I got to the inside, I kind of hit the chip and decided to just kind of hold the line up a little bit and try to get a run, and then the 42 got stuck on the outside, and that ruined my plan. So just got to thank everybody from Junior Motorsports. Our goal was to overachieve today with our Hunt Brothers Chevy, and we did that and capitalized on some situations, and had a couple of good restarts and wound up second. So all in all, it wasn't a bad day.
The temperature's brutal, hot today, obviously, but you got to get back in the race car tomorrow. What was it like today, and how do you rehydrate for tomorrow afternoon?
Well, breaking it up like that today definitely makes it better. I think as you look at you know, the short segments that we had to run today, you knew it was going to be hot, so I was prepared from a hydration standpoint this morning and throughout the day. So just go do that again and be ready to go.
Kevin Harvick, a former Brickyard 400 winner, looking to add another one of those victories to his resume tomorrow afternoon. Second here this afternoon.
And he continues to hydrate to get ready for that Brickyard 400 tomorrow. Kyle Busch continues to celebrate. We'll hear from more drivers when we return for our post-race coverage.
slows us down, he packs air on us, and the 27 got a run on me and passed me also. So in a fourth, I would have a better shot on that last restart if everything worked out, but it just didn't work out the way I had hoped. But still, fourth place run's good. It's just, you know, disappointing when, I don't know, it's probably like 2 green flag passes the whole race.
You won at Eldorado on Wednesday, now a 4th place finish here in Xfinity. What does that momentum mean going into tomorrow's Brickyard 400?
I hope it means something. I don't know if there was much to learn from this race for the Cup car, but other than training your body for heat. But I don't know. Momentum's good, confidence is good. Just gotta work on our cars a little bit.
Cold towel around your neck right now. How are you feeling?
Hot, really hot.
Right, it'll be a hot one again tomorrow.
Kyle Larson coming home 4th today. Nice run for Kyle. Continuation of a nice week so far, as he already mentioned. Won, of course, out of the half.
That is how you celebrate at Indianapolis in victory lane. Kyle Busch with that 18 team once again celebrating a win at Indianapolis. Another guy celebrating, Justin Allgaier. How did he get in front?
See right here at the next to last restart, Justin Allgaier gets pinned on the top behind the 3 wide of Daniel Suarez, and Brennan Poole allows the 1 of Elliott Sadler through.
And then a late race pass, over $100,000. Was able to clear him. Elliott Sadler made a run at him, but never could get back.
Justin Allgaier has counted the money before, and he'll do it again. He wins the $100,000 bonus in the Dash for Cash. Marty.
And he's excited to collect that check. And we just saw the highlights, Justin. How did you pull off that pass on your teammate Elliott Sadler on the white flag lap?
I have no idea. You know, that restart before the last one, we lost the lead, and then to be racing a teammate obviously is really a challenge, but to be able to get by him cleanly and to be able to finally win one of these Xfinity Dash for Cash programs, huge thank you to Xfinity Comcast for all they do for our sport. I just got a good run off of 4 and was able to get inside him, and obviously the inside lane was the preferred lane, and just a solid weekend for us. We had speed right off the truck. Jason Burdett and these boys did a great job, and just really pushed me through to the end of the race there, and we put ourselves in good position. And God parted the seas for us, and with the 19 and 20 having their bad luck, able to battle it out. So just a huge thank you to all the guys back at the shop, everybody that's a part of this race team, all these guys that work on this thing, Chevrolet, Hendrick Engines, everybody that touches this race car, all of our partners, Brand Professional Agriculture and Tax Slayer and Briars and Hellman's and Suaveman. I mean, we've got so many great partners at Junior Motorsports. It's just a great organization, and 3 cars inside the top 6, always a good day.
Certainly a shot in the arm for Junior Motorsports to be battling for that dash for the cash money. And speaking of that, let's bring in Matt Ledler from Comcast Xfinity, and Matt's got a presentation for you. $100,000. You can say thank you to Matt. What are you going to do with the dough?
I'll tell you what, it's the check alone and just being here right now is worth all of it. I don't even know if I can catch this thing, but like I said earlier, true testament to these guys. They work their tails off, and I know we weren't in victory lane, which is obviously where everybody wants to be. Hats off to Kyle, but to be standing here again, like I said, Xfinity and Comcast, all they do for our sport, you couldn't ask for anything better. And thank you for all that you guys do, and the fans. It's everybody that's a part of this series. It's a lot of fun to be here.
You can go buy the boys dinner. I'm sure you'd like to do that.
That's right, absolutely.
All right, that's the plan. Buying the guys dinner. What, $100,000, actually $100,000, guys. Not a bad payday, is it?
Not at all. Hold the big check at the end of this one. Justin Allgaier winning the Dash for Cash. More post-race when we return. just moments ago, the tradition continues. You win at the Brickyard, you kiss the yard of bricks. Braxton, no, Mom and Dad. What are you doing kissing the ground?
I think he wanted to do it.
Are you going to do it? They're showing him how.
I like that look right there.
Yeah, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure I'm supposed to do that?
And then he fools him here.
I'll do it.
He said, all right, I'll do it. If you guys want me to do it, I'll do it. And no, I won't. I'm going to run. Oh, what fun. So again, the celebration for the 18 team, doing something that very few have the opportunity to ever do. Kiss the bricks at Indianapolis. The guy who came just a spot short in the dash for cash was Elliott Sadler today. Justin Allgaier got the $100,000 check. Braxton still has everyone's attention. Great photos from the start-finish line here at the most famous racetrack in the world. A picture opportunity. As I mentioned, Elliott Sadler just one spot behind Justin Allgaier for the dash for cash. Let's hear from him. He's with Kelly Stammers.
Elliott Sadler was in position for the $100,000 in a dash for cash win late in the race, but your teammate got it from you. How tough was that battle with the 7 car there on that last lap?
Yeah, it was frustrating. We were just, for some reason, really tight during the main race, and just got a little tight behind the 42 there and lost all my momentum, and Justin made a good move, and man, it stinks to lose $100,000 like that on the last lap, but just proud of my guys. We're just a little bit too tight to hold him off, and we'll try to regroup and go to Iowa.
Bittersweet at all, though, that you get it? It's your teammate there?
No, I don't get any of it. That's not bittersweet. But congratulations, Justin, and those guys. They did a good job all weekend for our top 5. But wish we had it. Just too tight there at the end. I tried to do a different line and do something different, and it just wouldn't work out for me. So we'll take a 6th and move on from there.
Thank you, Elliott.
A little bit of disappointment there from Elliott Sadler not being able to either get the win or the $100,000 bonus. We keep going tomorrow. NASCAR America 2 o'clock. Countdown to green at 2:30, and then it's the Brickyard. The Brickyard 400, 3 o'clock, and such a big day in racing. Jeff Gordon is back. Tony Stewart, his final Brickyard 400 from right here in his home state. A huge day of racing.
Yeah, Tony Stewart has a car that we think has a chance to win the race. So Tony Stewart at the Brickyard on possibly his last day, you can expect a huge effort from him.
And how about the young guns? Can Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, can they beat those wily veterans? Jeff Gordon, you mentioned 5 Brickyard 400 wins. Could one of the young guns beat him to the yard of bricks tomorrow afternoon?
There's the finishing order. Kyle Busch winning once again in the Xfinity Series. Such a dominant driver. He continues to rewrite the record books. Can he do it tomorrow? Rewriting the record books in the Cup Series. Sweeping everything. He won both poles. Now he's won the Xfinity Series race and has the potential to win the Cup race one more time. Thanks for joining us here on NBCSN. Kyle Busch wins. Make sure to join us tomorrow for the Brickyard 400 on NBCSN.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope